pretty clearly, actually.
Turn it down. Turn it down.
But we're only just a fucking. Oh my god! I cursed in the first 5 seconds.
Good start. Well, that goes to tell you what type of show this is going to be.
Yeah, it probably is going to be one of those shows, man. But it's Thursday. We're doing the Big Baby and Friends Thursday podcast. How you doing, Parlay Pete?
We might as well turn this thing to the Big Baby and Parlay Pete podcast. I mean,
I was waiting till we got like the artwork and we could do like a rollout before I changed it like officially.
Yeah.
And we just, let's not be inwards this next time we see each other. And
yeah.
And
well, like I said, we got to get Justice to get in on the. Like I said, I have a camera, so get it in on the photography. And there's a lot of, as you can see outside of where I live, there's this kind of scenic area, and it's right downtown. So we can walk to the stadium, get in front of the Big Bird. I mean, whatever, Like
we are all here to do what Falcons do. Look at that!
Goddamn right. I love that.
But baseball is back, and that's why I'm celebrating with my Braves gear. But we're not going to open up with baseball being back because we are trying to get a number here. So we're going to go with we're going to listen to Molly Querim responding to Calvin Ridley. We're kind of going to go backwards on this, and we're going to talk about her response, and then we'll actually talk about Calvin Ridley because we are Falcons fans, and he is the Falcon who takes the headlines this week.
Finally.
Consistencies and hypocrisy. And I just like to read something and take this in a different direction here on International Women's Day.
Sure.
Domestic violence, dating violence, child abuse, and other forms of family violence or sexual assault involving physical force are committed against someone incapable of giving consent. A first offense will subject the offender to a baseline suspension of pay, a suspension of 6 games without pay. So I just have to say, I wish there was the same intensity and energy for protecting women and children that there is for the integrity of the game. Because again, what I just read to you, abuse and violence against women and children is 6 games, but betting is a 1-year suspension. So okay. I'm sorry, I just cannot sit up here again on International Women's Day and not bring that up.
Hey, thanks, Molly. The first thing I learned from that is that International Women's Day was this week because I did not know that Tuesday was International Women's Day. So, Molly, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I knew it was International or Women's History Month, but I did not know that it was International Women's Day. Shame on me. I'm happy they don't have International Niggas Day because, anyway.
When is Black Women's Day? Since it's Women's Month and there's International Women's Day. Or is it all encompassing the international, or do we get a black one, a white one, it's Chinese Women's Day? I mean, there's 30 days in March, so, or not 31.
30, yeah, no, it's 31.
31 days in March.
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
But all lives matter here. And Molly,
Ew.
Here's the thing that Molly, all lives don't matter if black lives don't matter. But anyways, Molly, let me tell you something. You're absolutely right in what you're saying, that the NFL is very inconsistent in the things that they punish. And you would think that hurting a woman or hurting a child is more important to the NFL than hurting the product on the field that they sponsor. Crazy thing is, women and children do not play in the National Football League. Women and children do watch football. But the majority of NFL's audience and money spenders are men. So the NFL, who is responsible for their product on the field, not responsible for societal norms and being the world's moral compass, the NFL is going to defend the NFL. The NFL is going to make decisions that protect the NFL. And if that means taking guys who are full of testosterone and mentally unbalanced, emotionally unbalanced, and they may get a little angry. They may get a little handsy at times. I don't agree with their behavior. I do not support their behavior, but I also don't employ them, and they do not give me lots and lots and billions of dollars like they do the NFL. So here's what I say to you, Molly. You continue to call out the NFL while working for ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, who is laying in the bed right next to the NFL, having an orgy with Fox and having an orgy with NBC and so on and so forth. You continue to join that orgy and get paid for it, or stop. Don't talk about the NFL. Don't work with a company who aligns itself with the NFL because you don't agree with their views. And while you're at it, that designer that you're wearing on TV every day, look and see where it came from, how it was made. Did it come from child labor? Women and children labor that you're so invested in? All right. So pick and choose your battles here, man. Everybody wants to be on their moral high horse. It is not a company. It is not a private company's job to police society. That's what our public government is for. And if Greg Hardy wants to haul off and beat his girlfriend, lock him up. Lock him up. But that just because he got locked up doesn't mean that this company who says, you know what, you are in the top 5% of the people in the world who can do this job, and we want you to do this job. Like, no, bro. The company can hire who they want, and we can complain about it, just like we complain about the lack of black coaches and GMs. But at the end of the day, we're black people who still put our money into the NFL. I mean, shit, we're fucking season ticket holders. We're not just like the casual fan, the person who watches, we give them a number. Like, no, we take real dollars and go to these damn games. So we're hypocrites in our own way too. But guess what? I think we're pretty open with our hypocrisy, and we say, look, dude, we're not moralists. The NFL's going to do what they're going to do, and we're still going to support.
You're either all the way in or you're all the way out. And there's no in between when it comes to this type of stuff, especially somebody that's got a platform to speak on it. And there's nothing wrong with her bringing it up, but don't act like you care that much when you don't, and I can't tell a woman what to do. Obviously, I can't tell anyone what to do, but certainly in her position, bringing that up as if you don't talk about the NFL every fucking day. I kind of look at it as the whole when the NBA was in the bubble, when we had the George Floyd situation, or I mean, not call it a situation. That's a little insensitive. The murder of George Floyd. The NBA they were talking about stopping, or at least the players were talking about stopping, right? And my biggest thing was this. We're sitting in this purgatory called COVID, quarantine, and it's like, damn, don't take this away from us. It's kind of how any outsiders kind of looking. It's like, y'all already in there, y'all agreed to go in there, but at the same time, the thought was this: why not every time you get interviewed, they ask you, LeBron, you had 39, 8, and 7 tonight, and you guys won by 15. What made this go on? What did you guys do to adjust to that? Yeah. Anyways, George Floyd. I think that what's happened, talk about it every single time. And there's certainly nothing. The players, of course, have that power because they make so much goddamn money. Post-game problem. All they could do is every player could literally agree to say, I'm not talking about this shit. We're going to talk about this. We're going to annoy the fuck out of you. And even if we still play, we still do this, that, and the third, because this is how we get paid and feed our families. We're going to talk about this. If you're somebody like Molly and this is so, important to you, every time you bring up the NFL, even if you want to, because certainly they could just fire you and replace you. You're replaceable, right?
Whoa. Do not diminish what she brings to First Take, a show that I never watched.
They're all fucking replaceable. I mean, if Skip Bayless can be replaced,
yeah,
Molly Queer, I'm sure as fuck can be replaced. And so, hell, Molly wasn't even the original. I think we bought up Kari Champion, right? Because she was first, right? Am I right?
She was the first woman, but before that, they had like a dude.
What, when it was cold pizza?
Early First Take. I only know this because I was watching some
it used to be called cold pizza.
Yeah. I was watching some First Take highlights yesterday.
Man. Miss old ESPN. Because I'm thinking of cold pizza. Obviously, Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption, they've always been around. But,
I like Stephen A.
And I know that was more on ESPN Classic, but Stomp the Schwamp. I miss old ESPN.
Stomp the Swan made you such a smarter sports fan.
It did. It was a great show. Let me tell you how people dream. Some people are like, man, I'd love to be on Jeopardy or whatever. I always had the dream of being on Stomp the Swamp so I could stump Swami. Like, I always thought that, even as a kid, seriously, because I do feel like I know a lot about sports. I always thought that was something that I could do, that I could get on there now. And I wasn't that good, even that young. Like, but I did feel like I knew a lot. Like, I know like specific dates of shit. Like, you know, so like I'm like, fuck, like I would love to get on that show. I miss the old ESPN.
Oh yeah, man, me too. But you know, now, and here's what I really want to take away from that conversation is so many things that we enjoy in life are a privilege and not a right. And we've come into this entitled world where people think they have a right to blank, and you don't. And you hear all these public figures talk about how they hate all the hate that they receive on social media or the hate that they receive in real life. And I go, yeah, where there's love, there's also hate. You're telling me that you want yes men around you all the time. And granted, nobody wants to hear negative stuff because I like monitor the comments like on our clips on YouTube. And sometimes you get some people saying some wild stuff. You know, like
Mainly
shit.
trolling.
Huh?
Mainly trolling, because trolling
Yeah.
has become such a it's literally in a weird way, because there's so many people don't troll in real life.
No. They're not
So
built like
it's
that.
like its own thing, because this is its own world. Like, it's its own world. And even though we're really talking and we're really in real life, it's like, I get it. Like, the metaverse is like becoming this thing, right? They're trying to make it become a thing. I don't know too many people really in it, but then again, I guess I'm not in it, so I wouldn't know who's in it.
You got to buy Oculus, man.
Yeah. We experienced it, but I mean, whatever with that. But it's one of those things where, do you really feel that way? Like, what are your real actions? And I think we're getting further and further away from reality because we're making everything so acceptable. Like you said, this is a lot of things in life are a privilege, you know? And I think that we're getting so far out from reality because everything's starting to become acceptable when everything isn't acceptable. And it doesn't mean that the way that this was built was correct to begin with, but at the same time, there are just certain things that have become acceptable to the point of where we can't even do anything, because then it's just kind of like, well, I feel this way and I'm right, when everybody's not right. When did we start making everybody correct?
When we became afraid of especially telling marginalized people that they're wrong. And so now when you can't tell the marginalized people that they're wrong, it becomes, we have to accept everything. Well, no, if you accept everything, then you're actually accepting nothing. Because think about it. Imagine somebody white telling you that something that happened to you wasn't racist.
Right.
And imagine them actually being right about it. That's something that's not palatable to most black people. Imagine telling a woman, hey, you didn't get this job not because you're a woman, or no, actually, you didn't get this job because you're a woman, not because a woman is more or less. This job requires heavy lifting of things for 9 hours, and you have not shown the capability of doing this job to the level in which we need it, because we had you go through a series of tests and you failed those tests. And most of that is because you are a woman, but sorry, this job is not for you.
And that's exactly what happens in the industry that I work in. I mean, as you know, that's pretty much what we do. Even that specific example is exactly what we do. And I'm not going to speak on who it is because it really doesn't matter. But we have companies that reach out to us and that tell us to directly avoid them when they apply. And now we have women that work for us with this company, and then they eventually hire them on. There are women that can do it. There's always exceptions.
Yeah.
But in general, the thought is in that particular field, it's not going to work. And it isn't because you hate women, or vice versa. Obviously men can be nurses, right? But that was like the running joke on Meet the Parents, that trilogy of movies. The running joke was that Greg was a nurse, and it's just like typically a woman's a nurse, right? I'm not looking for a male babysitter for my 2-year-old daughter. You know what I mean? Because
the only way you're going male babysitter, I think, is if it's like your brother or a close friend.
I'm talking a legitimate somebody that's got a daycare or a babysitter.
Oh yeah, that's
and like they're a legitimate thing. I don't know how many parents would feel comfortable with their daughter being babysat by a man, and it doesn't mean that man would do ill will to that girl baby. But at the same time, when you're thinking about the babysitter, you're like, or the nanny, or
the Manny.
You watch This Is Us?
No.
Oh, well, that's all right. Well, nonetheless,
I was making up something.
One of the main characters, he's a movie star, and that's the name of his show, The Manny.
Okay.
Fucking Mrs. Doubtfire and shit. But nonetheless, we're not looking for a man to do that, and it's vice versa with that, and so it's just there has to be a relative law that we have for ourselves it's not written or anything like that, but everybody can understand that it's not impossible, but at the same time, there are traditional roles. Like I cook more at my house than anyone. Right? But traditionally, everybody's like, well, cook, clean, woman. Everybody should be self-sufficient. You should be able to do it all yourself to begin with. And so certainly I would hope everybody's lived by themselves at least once. And if you live by yourself, you have to. Either that or you're a nasty person, one or the other.
Take out cleaning services.
That I tell you what, or you've got enough money to make somebody else do it.
But while you're on that, and here's where I really like to draw those lines, and I like to use extreme examples. Because again, you go back to the woman thing. There's a reason why there hasn't been a woman play in the NFL. Okay, I know whatever that girl's name had that squib kick at Vanderbilt, but come on, man, let's get real here.
Yeah, it was a field goal. It was an extra point. All right.
Whatever. But
are you dismissing her accomplishment?
No, I think it was great. She was SEC Player of the Week for that.
I know, right?
I mean, shit.
Well deserved, honestly. I mean, because they're not just giving the award away because of something, right? They're just she honestly probably did more than anyone in the SEC that week on special teams.
Absolutely. But
good call, SEC commissioner. What's it, Sankey? Good call, Sankey.
You know what? Sankey's doing enough good in the world that I think he gets a pass for it.
Well, because everybody gets paid.
Yeah. But, hey, check this out. Imagine, you or I self-identified as a doctor or a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there's a chance that we could properly diagnose something or we could properly litigate a case.
Absolutely.
But nothing in our education says that we are qualified to do that. So what I'm going to say, you're discriminating against me because I'm not a lawyer, but I said I'm a lawyer. You don't have the Juris Doctor degree. You did not pass any state bar exam. You're not even a paralegal. You took constitutional law in 2013, man. Like, what are we doing here? Nothing about your track record says that you know anything about the law. When did you last take biology? Your junior year of college? You made what, a B- in it? In non-majors biology? Come on, man. Like, what? Get out of my face, right? So I think that people,
shit somewhere.
Right. So people need to understand that, hey, you sometimes you get put in a box and you belong in that box. When you wrap up, when you get a PlayStation, it goes in a box, and it goes in that box because it gets transported from place to place. And by putting it in that box and wrapping it the way that it does, it keeps the PlayStation safe and functional so that it's at its peak when you get it. That's just like life. Sometimes we get put in these boxes And the world keeps telling us everybody's the boss. You know what? You don't have to be what they say you are. No, sometimes, you know what? You go work for a company and you get paid for what you do, and that's fine. And you get put in a box because that's what your capability set is.
Yep.
Sorry, Molly. But hey, let's talk about Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley suspended for a
boy.
year for gambling on football. I'm pretty sure he probably would have been traded this week, but the whole league knew that he was being investigated for his betting. You're a bettor here.
I am.
Would you sacrifice a $1,500 bet for a year of your current salary?
Not a fucking chance. I'm sacrificing that $1,500 to win my salary for the year. You know, I'm not doing that to if I had to place a $1,500 bet and the equivalent came out on the other end of my salary. If I win, matter of fact, they could say if I win the bet, I double my salary. But if I lose my whole salary. I wouldn't bet because it's a terrible deal. And in his case, it was god awful, you know. And I'm not here to condemn Calvin. Calvin wanted to do what I wanted to do. He wanted to make some money. And I'm not mad at him. Granted, he's making plenty of it. But maybe it's not enough, especially when he was away from the team. My assumption is that he was getting paid while he was away. I don't have anything that says that he wasn't or was. But my assumption is that he was getting paid while he was away. And I'm not mad at Cal for wanting to win some money. I'm not mad at that. But what I am mad at is what he's doing to the franchise with it. It's just the most Falcon shit ever. We've had so much shit the Falcons always randomly come up and, you know, I think I saw on Twitter somebody had put it up 28-3.
We are all here to do what Falcons do.
28-3. Gosh, the list really can go on. I mean, I could talk about this forever. But 28-3, Bobby Petrino, Michael Vick, Brett Favre. You could really just name a list of it's a laundry list of things, literally, that you could bring up with the Falcons in this organization and what's happened to us. And so it was just the most Falcon thing ever. You know, I couldn't believe it. I was a little hungover. I'm sure you guys saw on the group. I was with Mr. Turner. We were waking up. We were drinking probably until about 6 a.m. And I don't ask why or how, but that's what we were doing. I would never mix Red Bull with Hennessy White ever again.
Whose idea was that?
Well, the Red Bull, a long story. We'll talk about that off air. But
Was
nonetheless,
this in Atlanta or California?
This is in Atlanta. This is when we got back.
Okay.
Yeah, this is when we got back. It was a good, I'd say kind of a good night, honestly. But nonetheless, still not something that I would necessarily do again. And so, yeah, long story short, most Falcon thing ever. I'm not mad at Cal for wanting to make his bets. I will not fault him for that. But what I will fault him for is just the idea of, you know, not having more responsibility on this, knowing that this is an issue, you know, like the NFL, the NBA, like they look at this stuff, man. They do. They look at this stuff. And at the end of the day, you're in a position where you know that it's in your contract, or certainly your agent explicitly said it. What's understood doesn't even have to be explained sometimes. Why the fuck would you be allowed to bet on NFL games and certainly your own team's games?
Well, the owners get to make money off of their gambling relationships, and he was away from the team, so why not bet?
Well, look, Cal's got a way of looking at things, and the Lee's got a way of looking at things, and Molly's got to understand that. And so, you know, although as bystanders, we don't look at Calvin as a bad guy, you know, Calvin is still looked at as this guy that, you know, ultimately did something that his organization, his employer told him explicitly before he started, you can't do. You know,
Here's
Greg
the-
Hardy, there's nothing in the NFL handbook that says, man, you can't beat your fucking girlfriend. There's nothing in it. It doesn't mean that it's not wrong, but there's nothing in the NFL handbook that says that. You know why? Because they're like, oh, that sounds like something criminal. You might want to get with an attorney, and you might want to figure out what the state has to say about that, because we don't have a jurisdiction there. You want to know what our jurisdiction is? Like, as you said earlier, let's put the best product on the field. Let's get the best players on the field. And if the owners of the teams, the people that cut the paychecks, if they want to employ them, that's on them. We don't ask the NFL to run background checks. I'm sure that they don't, clearly, because if there was, then that would mean that it is in the NFL. And I'm sure probably, which is weird, I guess, maybe it is for like staffers. But of course, there's a moral compass that everybody does have. And naturally, you're not going to hire a pedophile in any way. And I guess that's kind of the way that everybody wants to look at it, to where, well, why is this stuff not looked at like a pedophile would be looked at? Because the NFL is not going to hire an open pedophile. But then again, an open pedophile is not going to beat the law.
Yeah. I mean,
they would be in jail anyways, to where they can't work in the NFL.
It depends. If they were on Epstein Island, they may beat it.
That's true too. That's been the exception. Either that or they'll kill themselves. One or the other, or maybe kill themselves.
Yeah. But so the thing is,
one or the other. But
the thing is with Calvin, right? I just, bro, bad judgment. Totally bad judgment. There are so many ways to get this done. If you wanted to bet that you could have done it and it wouldn't have put your name on it, dude, you could have flown to Vegas, went to the sports book, handed your mom the money, and she made the bet. And somebody could say, Calvin really spotted sports book, handing mom money, and then she goes and makes a bet. Yeah, because he's the money source and his mom wants to bet. Cha-ching.
More importantly, since when can you borrow money from people?
Exactly. Shannon Sharp said they had signs in the locker room that said no betting on games. So if they got signs in the locker room saying you can't bet, you can't bet. But here's what I didn't like, Pierce. You had members of the sports media out here trying to fucking take up for him. And it's like, dude, accountability has to matter at some point. Now, if we want to attack the rule again, let's attack the rule. But, dog, it's just like the Sha'Carri Richardson situation and something that's brewing right now, the Brittany Griner situation. Sha'Carri Richardson didn't get to run in the Olympics because she smoked weed. Oh, that's messed up. Okay, yeah, it's messed up, but it's the rule. Brittany Griner shouldn't be in Russia right now. They're using her as a propaganda piece because she's an American, and they're gonna try to, hold her over there to see if America. Hey, look here. I tell you what, man. America don't care about. You think if the NFL don't care about women and children, do you really think America cares about the WNBA?
Especially a gay black woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's high on the list. Like, what's her ransom going for?
I'll tell you the one issue I had, at least with that situation. And somebody did put up a post on Instagram that I saw that I kind of agree with. But that's why we said a gay black woman, basically, and that's the reason kind of I brought it up like that. When you think about it, if this was some like wholesome white woman that skied,
Barbara Streisand,
she ran cross country, she graduated from Quinnipiac with 3.5 honors, America might be talking about it a little bit more, for sure. Matter of fact, I don't even have to think that. I know that would be the case. But the fact that she's a WNBA player that's gay looks like, she is a nigga, right? But like, she looks like a nigga too. Like, it's not even like it's Skylar Diggins or something.
She said she could beat DeMarcus Cousins in basketball.
Right. She said she could beat DeMarcus Cousins in basketball. As a matter of fact, Justice said that we need to put that in for the All-Star break next year so we can finally settle the score. But nonetheless, the fact that all these things are kind of stacked against her, it isn't getting, I don't believe that it's getting the attention it deserves, considering if it were, like I said, a white chick that graduated from Quinnipiac with a 3.5 GPA that loves hiking and, does water sports, and she was out there studying abroad or something, or, was on vacation, whatever. I think that it would be getting a lot more attention. So from that perspective, certainly I agree.
I agree with you on the attention piece, but at the end of the day, I think the result that if they're detaining her there because she broke the law, like, I'm sorry, dog, I can't come out. We as Black people got to stop coming out and using like criminals as the people that we defend to show like the problems in the system.
Right.
There are too many cases of people who are not criminals, or there are many cases of those who we're fighting against who are actually criminals who are getting off. Those should be the examples. We should not use. Did she have possession of a vape pen with weed residue in it? Yes, bro. She's cooked. Did Calvin Ridley bet? Yes. Okay, so he's cooked. Hey, Molly, did Greg Hardy have to deal with some legal shit and some civil shit? Yeah. Did Ray Rice never play football again? Yeah. Did the white punter get to keep punting for years? Yeah.
Did Colin Kaepernick switch up the location of where his workout was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Hey, again, back to
is MLK alive?
No.
Like,
some things are facts, and it gets back to people,
it's not okay, basically.
Yeah, bro. Thing is, things are a privilege. Colin Kaepernick, it is a privilege for you to play in the NFL. Do I still think you are one of the 50 best quarterbacks in the world right now?
I don't know anymore, but he hasn't played in 6 years.
Right.
So I don't know now. Was he in 2017 when he was getting banned?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely could have been at bare minimum a backup.
Right. And did you
certainly at the worst case scenario too, he could have been a camp on.
And here,
camp just to see. I mean,
I support people's right to stand up for what they believe in, but I also support your right to be not heard or ignored. Like, I support Kyrie standing on his non-vaccine thing. I don't agree with it, but I support his right to stand on it. But guess what? Kyrie stood on it. He doubled down. He tripled down.
Yeah.
And like it or not, Kyrie stood with principle. The principle that he stands with, he stood on it. So just stand on it, man. It looked like Ridley standing on his principle.
He is.
Making jokes on Twitter about it. I didn't go check his account to see if it was actually him, but it looked like he made a joke about it. Speaking of gambling, so can Malik Willis? Let's not use Malik Willis. I don't want to use him. Let's use
Have you seen some of the mock drafts that are sending him here?
I'm not taking any mock drafts seriously right now.
Me neither, but just the fact that
pro days, man.
Well, just the fact that we're a month out and they've got Malik. Some people, I think CBS and I think Todd McShay even had him on his, and of course they've got him now. Now this guy went from being from my understanding, at one point when it opened up, he's about the third favorite, like third quarterback being taken. Some people had him third, some second, but basically Pickett was like always the consensus. Oh yeah, this guy's gonna be the number one guy. To now, it's like, okay, so now he's just gonna go eighth. Like, you know what I mean? But go ahead. What were you going to say about Malik?
So can Malik go place a bet on the over-under of when he's going to be taken, since he's not an NFL player, so he's not subject to the CBA?
Certainly on Bovada he can. But then again, the gamble at that point, the NFL is not going to police you. It's going to be the casino. That's who's going to police you there, because then they're going to say, well, you had inside information. They could definitely use that against you, because they could say, well, even if you place the bet today, who's to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers GM didn't tell you, or the Falcons if let's say that Terry Fontenot.
No.
If you're available at 8, I'm going to take you.
You know who's making that phone call. Stop it.
Yeah, it's Arthur.
It's not.
Oh, it's Rich.
Fucking Rich.
Yeah, Rich. Rich is making it. But regardless, point being, if during that process, they could say that he had inside information. So I feel like when it comes to a draft position, he probably couldn't get away with it just because the casino might not. Now, could he give it to his mama? Yeah.
She doesn't know anything. She's not Lamar Jackson's mom. She's not the agent.
Well, or even if she gives it to Aunt Shirley's friend Beverly. Beverly sure as fuck don't know. And, but casinos also monitor those type of things when a big wager comes in, right? That's how lines move. And anything over $9,999, they're going to ask for your social. They're going to ask for everything. All right. Even if you win it, they're going to, let's say you bet the $9,999, they're going to still have that information because they have to, just because it's winnings. So it's a hard thing to get around to a degree. If you do it the right way, you can definitely get around that stuff. Because did you see what's the thing on Netflix? They had the Pistons doc where they talked about the mouth at the palace.
Yeah.
That same documentary show had it on the guy. The very next episode was a guy that was in college betting on his games.
The Boston College one?
It was Arizona State.
Okay, no, I didn't watch that particular doc.
He basically white business kid out of Chicago. Apparently he was making good money in the mid 90s. Was like 23, would fly to Vegas and would bet on it, but he had the inside track on a kid at Arizona State that basically he's like, look, man, I'll pay you $10,000 a game. And he said he never betted on them to lose. So he wasn't asking him to throw a game, but he was asking him
shave points.
Exactly. They were shaving points. And it went on for a long time. I mean, they were able to do it for quite a few games until people started to pick up. That was weird. That was weird. Like, the spread was this and he did this at the end of and then it starts happening in too many games. It's like, it's a little weird. Now, draft positions, obviously, big difference. But all in all, I guess I'm saying from the gambling standpoint, they have such a way of tracking this stuff. It's not impossible to do because, like we said, outside of Calvin's just a nigga that got caught. He's not the only one. He's just the one that got caught. I know for a fact that there's an NCAA player today that I know, not to just be bringing this stuff up on air, but like there's a player I know today that bets on his games. Now, he's betting that they win too, just like Calvin away from the Falcons is betting on his team. Now, he's an NCAA player. He bets on his games.
He's a degenerate.
I don't know. He's asked me for advice on this stuff. And so, like, I know a player that bets on his game. So I know that these guys are doing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're sitting here and you're like, bro, we're going to win today. We're going to bust their ass. We should beat them by 20. The line's only 8.
And they know. Like, they might even know. Like, they might even know we're going to bust their ass. Like,
why would I not make extra money off of this? And maybe the rules evolve and it becomes, hey, you can bet on yourself to win and cover. You can bet on yourself money line or to cover. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't change the integrity of the game. Now, if you're betting, if you're a favorite and you're betting plus, the other team plus 3.5 and you go, okay, we just got to win by 3. That's problematic for me. But if you're betting your team to cover, it doesn't matter if the line is 7 and you win by 8.
They've got to stop you anyway. Unless they're in on it too, they've got to stop you too. They have to stop you.
But I only think it's money line and it's covering for favorites, right? Because I'm not into betting over unders because now you're fudging.
You're like, I'm gonna let them score some points. Like we might be beating them by 20. I might let this nigga drive right past me and let everybody else in on it now. Yo, I'm gonna win 15 tonight. I'm gonna give each of y'all niggas at least $1,000. Just let them at least score a couple of times.
Right.
At the end of the game, if it gets this close, if the over under is 140 in a college game and the score is 50-60 and it's a minute left, you're not gonna be able to get that cover. You're not gonna get those 30 extra points. I mean, even on your end, because you've got to still score too.
Yeah. That's
not possible. But obviously, Vegas is pretty accurate with this stuff normally. If they're pretty accurate with it and it's very close to the line and you know that you're a couple points off, fuck it. Why not, if they get a rebound, just accidentally go for it too hard and foul him? Because now you're already in the bonus. Let him shoot the free throws. Let's at least give them as many chances as we can to cover that over-under.
Right. Or if somebody shoots a 3-ball, right? You box out a little bit early. Soon as they land, you just stick a butt on them, not too much. And then it's 3 shots, or it's and 1 because you didn't affect the jump shot at all.
Right. It's a stupid foul.
Yeah. So, yeah, players are gambling. Calvin got called. The NFL had to make a statement. So hopefully people aren't dumb enough to place the bet themselves. That's all the NFL is doing. It's all about perception. They don't really care about players betting on games. I promise you they don't. The integrity of the game is a farce because you have incentive-laden contracts. And with incentive-laden contracts, you will have coaches, GMs, and owners make decisions that affect incentives, which means that if you're making a decision to affect the incentive, you are not making a decision that is about the integrity of the game because you're probably not calling the best plays or always playing the best players. I mean, for God's sake, you got guys getting jobs who are not qualified to be coaches. Why? Because they have relationships. And is that true to the integrity of the game? No. You got guys getting contracts. Why? Because they played for a coach, or the GM and the agent have a good relationship, or they like a guy's personality better than they like another guy's personality when the shit on the field is different. Hell, look at Kirby Smart starting Jake Fromm over Justin Fields.
We all knew who was the more talented player. I mean, right? We knew that, and that's no offense to Jake Fromm, but hell, let's just look at the pros. Jake Fromm fucking might be on a roster next year. We know where Justin Fields is going to be. He's the starting quarterback of the Bears.
Exactly. So integrity of the game, purity of the game, it sounds good, but it's not nearly as real as they like to make it out, man. So we've been here a little minute. And there's been a lot of movement in the NFL. Do we want to talk Aaron Rodgers staying still, or do we want to go to Russell Wilson actually moving?
Let's do the spicier subject, Russ getting traded. And we knew that Russ was going to get traded. I hate how Pete was talk about, I know that Pete loses poker hands when he's in Vegas because he sure as hell doesn't have a face. We knew that this was in the making for really, if we want to be honest about it, about 2 years. Because you knew that before this season, it was definitely like, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. It just so happened once the draft passed, for the most part, there's no trades. You know that. That's why we're hearing about a guy like Khalil Mack getting traded today. We're hearing about Carson Wentz getting traded the other day. Because we know that once the draft comes and goes, well, now there's really no capital. And unless you're swapping player for player, or I guess you can send future picks, but we don't even know how bad you're going to be. I bet anyone would have taken the Bengals' first-round pick if they had made a trade after the draft this past year, because they're like, well, hell, that's going to be a top 10 pick. You know what I mean? So we don't know. We know what it is before the draft. We don't know what it's going to be coming into the next season, considering the parity of the NFL where half the teams don't make the playoffs the very next year. So, but we knew for the last 2 years that this was something that was brewing in Seattle. And I think that their performance on the field, warranted the trade that they ended up making. And I'll give a salute to Pete, even though I don't believe he's going to be there that much longer, whether it's because he retires or whatever. But clearly Schneider's got he believes in Pete. And I get it. They got the Beast Quake run without Russ. This stuff happened without Russ. He traded for Marshawn from the Bills. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Pete's done. Pete's obviously – he's an NFL he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. I know that it's not like the NBA. It's not like the NBA, like how with the NBA it's college or it's the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. It's your college and your NBA. That's why Grant Hill's in the fucking Hall of Fame, because it's a combination of both of his careers. The NFL is just pro football, but Pete gets in. Seattle had never won a Super Bowl, but I believe that they won the trade personally, in my opinion.
Think Seattle won the trade?
I do. And I think that they won the trade because they got back. Unfortunately, they had lost it. they got back everything that they lost in the Jamal Adams trade, which was a terrible trade. But they got back everything plus a little bit more. I don't know too much about that defensive tackle that the Broncos traded. I know that Noah Fant's a good tight end. I know that he's a good tight end. And I know that Jake Locke is somebody that I personally have thought highly of as a person, because I always thought like maybe Matt Ryan would go to Denver if the Falcons ever were going to move him. I thought that was more of a place that Matt Ryan would end up going, because I was like, okay, solid young pieces, decent run game, always solid defense. Matt Ryan can, even in that division, I'm like, he could win 10 games. And as long as you're in the tournament, you can win the tournament. And so I thought that they won the trade because they knew in reality, in the division that they're in, that they weren't going to be going to the playoffs or competing for Super Bowls. So because you're not competing for Super Bowls, and this is what it's supposed to be about, Russ is 33. He's going to want a new contract after this year. Aaron Rodgers just got $50 million. Patrick Mahomes gets 40. Russ is going to want to be in between regardless, whether it's on the high end or the low end. He's going to want to be in there regardless. He's the greatest player in your franchise history.
You think Russ wants to be in between?
He might want to be the top guy. Maybe he wants 50 million and 500,000. I don't know, but he might want that 50.5. But the point is that that's not their problem anymore. They got his cap off this. Like, that's what we got to look at. Bryce Young is going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft next season, barring a serious injury or just a serious fall. Bryce Young looks like a hell of a quarterback to me. And they can set themselves up to where Jake Locke might be competitive. He might not be bad. He might make them a little bit of money. He might make himself a little bit of money by being a guy that can either be a high-end backup or what he's going to be in Seattle, an in-between guy. Because I don't believe Seattle's going to draft a quarterback, not in the first round. And so, which their only first-round pick, I'm assuming, because of the Jamal Adams trade, is the Broncos pick.
Yep.
And so
I think it's number 9 right after us.
Yeah. And so I don't know what they're going to do with that. But the thought was this. That's why they released Bobby Wagner too. That's why they've got Tyler Lockett on the trade block. I mean, at this point, they've got to be in a position to where they've got to reset the deck. And let's move on from that Legion of Boom Super Bowl era. Some people were going to call it a dynasty. No. They weren't that, and I've always thought that team was highly overrated. That was why before the season started, I said exactly what I said about Seattle and Pittsburgh, even though they ended up winning some games at the end of the season. I shouldn't have been wrong on that, but I was. I had said that those are the two teams I identified that I was like, I bet they both don't make the playoffs because I'm just looking at their situations. Seattle wasn't talented enough. The Steelers were talented enough. Ben just didn't have it to me, but they ended up winning games, even with Ben being so bad. And so I just think that when you look at it from that perspective, I feel like they won the trade because of that.
So what was that Jay-Z said? Nobody wins when the family feuds.
That's right.
And Russ and Pete are family. And they've been feuding.
Nation.
Yeah, they've been feuding for a few years. So unlike Jay-Z and Beyonce, who worked it out, these two, they broke up. And, sometimes the divorce is amicable. Sometimes we can split it right down the middle. Sometimes we had good lawyers who created a great prenup and we walk away and it's okay. But here's what happened. Russ just chose to live in a better city. You know what I mean? He just chose to live in a better city. I'm not saying Denver's a better city than Seattle. I've not been to Seattle. I've been to Denver a few times, and I like Denver.
Both, and I like them both. I was just in Seattle this weekend. And
so I'm just telling you, I think Russ chose a better city because all he did was he set himself up to be the second or third best quarterback in his division, where he was the best quarterback in his division. He's better than Matthew Stafford. I think.
Yes. And he's better than Kyler Murray for sure.
Hell yeah.
And certainly Jimmy G. We're not even going to talk about him, but
right. So he goes to be the second or third best quarterback in his division. Denver gave up all this shit to be a 7 seed. Maybe.
I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I agree. Yes. Like they're not. Let me tell you, I know everybody doesn't want to say it, but Kansas City, you watch out. They might start to fall off a little because I know that they're going to.
I could build the whole argument for that for you right now, but in order to preserve my
after this season, once his cap hit and that money comes in, they're smoked.
Bro, they're about to pay Tyreek $20 million. You're gonna have 70. But here's the thing, though.
If Travis Kelce probably signed his deal, he probably makes still 15, even at tight end.
What they'll do is they'll probably keep drafting receivers.
They better hit in the fucking draft. Because they're saying Matthews might be a goner anyway. And then either that or you got to pay him too.
Yeah.
They're going to be in cap hell in like 2 or 3 years. They're going to be in cap hell.
But I think that's why Patrick signed the 10-year deal, because it's going to allow them to do
what the Falcons have been doing with Matt Ryan.
Yes.
Go ahead and hit that rise up, because that's exactly why we're in the position that we're in.
All here to do
That
Falcons do. Look at that.
That is why we're in the position that we're in, because we kept moving his money down because of his deal.
Exactly. And now he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL next year.
Well, highest cap hit.
Highest cap hit. There we go. Yeah.
Not even just in the NFL next year, but of all time. Nobody's had a cap hit that high.
Fucking Matt Ryan.
Talk about the Falcons, boy. The most Falcon shit ever. Just like Ridley Benton. I mean, it's Falcon shit. How the fuck are you 7-10? How the fuck have you not made the playoffs?
What Falcons do. Look at that.
In 4 years. You haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. And somehow, some way, you got a 37-year-old quarterback who I love. I love everything that Matt Ryan's done for the Falcons. And he's not the same guy at the end of it. He's not Brady or Rodgers. He's not playing at that level. I think that he can still win. Maybe not with the Falcons, but I think with the right pieces, he can win. But how do you get the highest cap hit in NFL history?
Thomas Dimitroff.
A team that hasn't made the playoffs in 4 years.
Thomas Dimitroff.
Oh, you mean that Patriots guy? And
we got Ryan Pace in the building, baby.
Yes. Round of applause for Ryan Pace.
He talk about somebody who's fleecing people, but
hell, Scott Pioli got back in, and I know you're all right with Pioli
right now.
Pioli helped kind of set up the Chiefs, if we want to be technical.
Hold on, did we bring Pioli back?
No. But I'm saying he was there with he came in like basically that saved my ass season that got everybody fired, or maybe it was the year before when Pioli got there. But he was an assistant GM, whatever the fuck that means. Because then it's just more talking heads, especially with Rich McKay being the permanent one. And Arthur, even though that's Arthur's mouthpiece, Arthur still has some say at the end of the day. He owns the team. So he's at the meetings, and he ultimately can say whether he defers to Rich and is like, well, what do you think, Rich? It's still his say. That still is the voice. And so you start talking about Pioli, Dimitroff, McKay, and Dan Quinn, who had control over the roster.
That's too much.
That's why we're in the position that we're in. You've got 5 fucking people in the room, and it's like a fucking game of paper, scissors, rock for the fucking. It's 3-2 vote. Like,
we are all here to do.
I love being a Falcons fan.
Look at that,
bro. Think about us right now. We still got Arthur. We still got Rich. We got Terry, we've got Arthur, and we've got fucking Ryan goddamn Pace. And guess what? We remember.
And we still got some scouts too that at the end of the day can say their piece on what they believe is the best prospects or whatever.
And remember when Terry got hired and we broke down the press conference last year. When he was asked who had final say on the roster, he said it's a team effort, which means he didn't have final say.
Yeah, right. So you got hired to be the black face because for all intents and purposes, in the city of Atlanta where people hate the white quarterback, you haven't hired a black coach, even though you've had an interim one that just won a Super Bowl with the dominant defense, which I'm not going to give him all the credit because that defense was phenomenal before he got there. They did their job. He's still, and somehow he didn't get no coaching interviews.
Somehow Brandon Staley gets a job and gets the call. Go for it every time on 4th down, and then gets
the chief fucking defensive coordinator is the coach of the Bears, and Raheem Morris has been a coach. fuck it. Look, and this is why I had an issue with the Lovie Smith hire. The Texans should have hired Raheem Morris. I mean,
I don't think Raheem takes that job.
maybe he doesn't, but I'm just because he doesn't want to be set up for failure again. But
Yeah,
at the same time, so Lovey's like, I'll just be the mule for 2 to 3 years.
But hold on, here's the thing: Lovey's a Dungy guy, and you know Dungy, he's a company guy. He's an NFL guy. You know, send a nigga. You send a nigga to Tony Dungy, he's reformed in the NFL's eyes. Hey, Tony Dungy stamped him. Okay, Tony Dungy.
Because he's the black pope of the NFL.
You know what, man?
You think of black coaches, obviously being the first one to win the title, and he's not the only.
No.
Or is he?
Yeah.
Is he still the only one?
No, Mike T.
Yeah, Mike T did win one. You're right.
But
Mike T's a Dungy guy, right?
Yeah, he's a Dungy guy. So is Raheem.
Yeah. So
Lovey, my man's who still couldn't Caldwell. Jim Caldwell, you know.
Now, he's not even a coordinator.
Right. You talk about
he's getting older. I mean, he can't coach for forever.
I mean, Jim Caldwell is getting treated, by the NFL like the Falcons cap did by fucking Dimitroff.
Jim's the type of guy I would want the Falcons to bring. I mean, I know Arthur's supposed to be calling the plays, but God, let's get some sizzle at least at the OC. I couldn't even tell you. I know where our OC came from. Couldn't even tell you his name.
Yeah, he was Chicago's passing game coordinator.
Yeah, and they had a great passing game. Let me tell you about the Bears passing game, because we just know a ton about Bears passing. Shit, they think they might have found their quarterback. They haven't had one since the 80s. But yep, that's a hell of a guy to hire as your OC.
We got Allen Robinson who may be a top 5 receiver in the league, but we don't know because the Bears passing game is terrible.
Hey. Well, don't forget, free agency is upon us. And maybe that cachet will cash in with Pace and him being there.
No,
and the fact that we don't have a number one receiver, and Allen Robinson's not getting $20 million a year, and with Calvin Ridley's money off the books, the Falcons have got to sign a receiver, right? So, like, maybe Allen Robinson, we can get him for $14, $15 million a year. Matt Ryan will get him the ball. I mean, all they got to do is fold their hands like this and be like, look at Julio Jones. And Julio, now,
look at Calvin Ridley.
Julio's also different, but
yeah, he's first.
Matt Ryan was still the only nigga. That's the only person that was throwing him the ball his entire career. And we saw what happened when he got to Tennessee.
Well, his hamstring happened again.
His hamstring happened the year before, and his numbers weren't that bad. So, and I get it, he's a year older, but I read on the Falcoholic about the idea of the Titans potentially cutting Julio as a cap casualty because he's making $20-something million a year. And somebody basically, one of the writers said, if they cut him, would there be a chance that the Falcons could sign Julio Jones back?
Did you see how it ended?
Yeah, well, and that was what all the comments were saying on there. But that basically, first of all, the fan base, when he comes back and we retire his jersey and stuff, everybody's going to love Julio. He's an Atlanta legend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way that it ended, the fact that he got on national TV and, essentially said, oh, no, that's done. While he was still a Falcon. He wasn't a pending free agent where he could decide where he's going. No, this nigga was still under contract. He was still on the payroll. When they're sending out the season ticket emails, he's still one of the guys in the forefront. But it was interesting because the thought would be, even though he said he wanted a strong arm quarterback, I don't know if he really got that. I guess Tannehill can let it float. He's got to be on the field for him to let it float. But obviously, I'm just saying the numbers weren't as good. But would you accept Julio back?
Yes.
If Julio wanted to come back and we could get him for $5 or $6 million a year?
Yeah.
I would too. We got completely off this Russ thing.
Yeah, let's go back to Russ. So here's the thing about Russ. I don't think his weapons are better.
Really?
And his division is harder.
His division's harder. I think his defense is definitely better. And then you saw Von Miller. He put up something.
Now, if they get Von, but here's the thing.
But the defense was still really good without
Fangio's gone, though.
him.
Fangio's gone.
Who's the DC?
I don't care. Fangio's gone. Fangio.
It still means something.
It means something, but you got to understand Fangio is up there in the conversations with the Wink Martindales and below the Belichicks, you know, and the McDermotts.
Ed Donatel is the defensive coordinator of the – well, hold on.
I'm saying
I'm sorry, they just hired him to the Vikings.
When you lose Vic Fangio, who is one of the most brilliant defensive coaches in the league, I just am skeptical about what's going to happen there, because you see the Bears defense fell off once Fangio left there to take the Denver job.
They hired not to cut you off, but they hired a defensive assistant from the Rams.
Oh,
and he's a black guy. And he's African. Based on his last name, it sounds African to me. His name is Ejiro Evero.
Nigga, what?
Who's the Broncos head coach?
Nathaniel Hackett.
All right, from the Packers. So
yeah, so he comes from that. Bro, hey, look here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't trust Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, Packers, but he came from he's McVay tree, LaFleur.
The Shanahan tree.
Yes, the Mike Shanahan tree, who somehow is not in the Hall of Fame yet, but Dick DeMillis.
Yes, it's the Mike Shanahan tree, but really it's Kyle's. These young guys, I feel like Kyle's the one. I mean, Mike might have known who they were. I feel like Kyle's the one who's like.
I want to say no. You got the guys who coached in Washington. They coached under. They were under Mike.
I know, but I'm saying even if Hackett came, maybe Hackett was in like like the Dolphins coach. Mike
McDaniels. He's young.
But he was under. He was on that Washington. Because he was with the Falcons. He was with us for the Super Bowl. He was an offensive assistant.
Okay.
So it's crazy to think about how many guys coaching in the NFL came from the Falcons.
So Hackett, his actual, I'm looking at his coaching background. It's actually kind of weird. He was in Buffalo from 13 to 14. Was that the Rex years? As the OC.
Ryan? 13 to 14. No, he was with the Jets around. No, you're right. That's way past Sanchez. Might have been. Yeah, probably Rex years.
Let's see. 15 to 16. He was the QB coach in Jacksonville. Then he was the OC in Jacksonville from 16 to 18. Is he the Malarkey guy? Not a Malarkey.
Well, and that still comes back to Falcon.
Who was the Jaguars head coach before Herb? Golly, what's that guy's name?
You're right. That's who he was with, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I know his name. It's he came from Syracuse, which is why I'm looking.
So you know what? He's from that system. He came in under Tampa with Gruden.
Okay.
So same offense.
Doug Marrone is the name of the coach of the Bills. But yes, because now it makes sense. I'm looking at it too. It says Syracuse, and I'm like, but that's where Marrone came from. Yeah,
so he's the Marrone guy. Come on, man.
But there's Falcon connection there.
And Aaron Rodgers likes him, so that means he knows what he's doing. And look here, I'm sorry, but Russell, I think you took a step back with your coaching. I don't know about your offensive coaching. Your offensive coaching is probably going to be better. But we'll see. Russell, I mean, look at.
Well, John knows, right? John knows he's a Shanahan. I mean, Dan Reeves and Shanahan, but one with Shanahan.
Yeah, but I've seen what John has done as a GM when it comes to the quarterback position, and I think you and I could do a better job evaluating quarterback talent than John Elway.
Question. Well, he avoided paying Brock Osweiler. Can we give him that? I mean, he let Brock take the money from the Texans.
Who didn't invite him down to meet him. Fucking idiots.
Well, then again, based on what Brian Flores says, John Elway's a fucking drunk that shows up to meetings an hour late. So,
Well, we didn't show up to the pod an hour late, so I think I'm good.
Well, certainly we're drunks, and I've definitely shown up to stuff late because of being hungover as well. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah, but I just think all the hype around Cowherd put Denver immediately in the Super Bowl bubble, and I go,
I think it's too early.
I think it's too early. I got to see what else they do. And I'm
See
sorry.
how they compete against their division once they play.
Russell Wilson is his success is determined by his defensive success. Because when we let Russ cook, yeah, he won the division, but then he got beat by Jared Goff with like a broken thumb and some bum quarterback whose name I can't remember, and I'm not going to look up because it's not worth my time. Once the Legion of Boom went away,
it was all Legion, no Boom.
Yeah, it was just Russell
putting up big numbers,
falling off at the end of the season, losing playoff games that they were expected to win.
Yeah, like in Dallas.
Yeah.
And trust me, it takes a lot to lose a playoff game to Dallas. Let me tell you, based on what I've seen from Dallas over the past, I don't know.
Over our football watching life, because guess what? In 95, when they last won the Super Bowl, we were not watching football.
The Cowboys they've won probably 2 playoff games since I've been alive. And so, well, not been alive, but
been able to consume the game.
I tell you what, since I was fucking 3, they've won 2 playoff games. Yeah. The Falcons have been to 4 NFC championships in that span. So, and that says a lot for a team that, go ahead, cue it, for a team that doesn't, have a Super Bowl, for their credit. We've been to more NFC championships. We've won the same amount of NFC championships to the playoff wins that they have.
Bro, it's crazy. Hey, let's talk about the anti-Russell. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, the guy who's staying put, the guy who's you know what? He said nobody wins when the family feuds. So we're going to fix this feud and we're going to come back and we're going to win. Let's talk about the guy who's getting characterized as the diva. And, he has some diva behavior, but he didn't float out, hey, I'll play for these 4 teams if I get traded,
He never said that, like Russ did.
He didn't do a documentary.
When we knew that his ass was fucking going to leave.
Yeah.
They were going to trade him.
He didn't do a documentary on his recovery from injury,
You hate Russell Wilson, don't you, Lee?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think he's fake.
He does do a lot for that. He did a lot for that community.
I'm not saying he's not
doing it for the camera, man.
I'm not saying he's not philanthropic.
He wiped up a chick that had been ran through hip hop. And Sierra looks better now than she did when she was getting ran through.
Yeah. Now he's a cornball too, but I'm just speaking.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think he's fake either. I feel like it's just genuinely that.
Dog,
Russ is fixed, right?
I don't know. You can't come out here and say go Hawks and then have your agent float out the 4 teams that you're going to play for. Okay, you can't act like you're this.
Russ thought that he had more.
Yeah. You can act like you're this team first guy. I'm all about the team. Yeah, me and Pete. Yeah, we're gonna work through it. I was up 5 a.m. this morning working out, got some throws in, got a lift in. And now we're getting ready to win the Super Bowl.
He is mixed. He's half African American and Native American, which is interesting.
Yeah. So I'm
surprised that when he won the Super Bowl, they didn't plaster out their first Native American quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
We weren't woke yet.
Shit. They was beginning in 20.
They were getting there, but we still had Chief Wahoo back then.
That's true, but we don't anymore.
We can still tomahawk chop without getting ridiculed for it.
And we're going to keep doing it. And let me tell you, them white folks in Cobb County, them niggas from Atlanta, they're not going to stop doing it. And it's not because it's not because you're trying to disrespect anybody. It's because this is what if we did this, would it make it I'm just saying, I guess it's hand movement. It's not literally, they stopped passing out the chop. They stopped doing that. But we don't
have the dressed up Indian anymore or Native American.
Baseball sooner or later.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Let me get back to just I don't hate Russ. I'm not a fan. I think he's a really good quarterback. But I just don't like hearing the narrative that Aaron Rodgers is this diva. He does this, he does that. When Russell is doing the same thing, he just does it in a more palatable way, and he just puts on the face, he puts on the mask, and it's like, nah, dog, you're a big fat phony.
I can't give him that, and the reason I can't is because Rodgers has always had that cocky personality, which is great because he's always been himself. But Russ has been the same way. Russ is corny. Like, they've been that way their whole career. Nobody turned heel. You know, this isn't Stone Cold stunnering Vince McMahon to win. No, stunnering the Rock. Or this isn't Vince McMahon coming out to help Stone Cold beat The Rock when The Rock is on Vince McMahon's side. It's not the same thing to me. Like, neither of them have changed. I think the biggest issue with Aaron Rodgers is, like we talked about, I think maybe 2 podcasts ago, is the fact that he doesn't have a relationship with his family, and it's kind of a public thing. Like, it's a little public. So, and everybody talks about what comes first. Most people will say God, right? God.
Family football.
God, family, football. I don't know about Aaron Rodgers' religious beliefs, but what I do know, or spiritual, I know he's a spiritual, or he makes it.
A margarita and a Bloody Mary.
What?
What? What? What? You go flap your gums about what Triple H is going to do to me? Over the top rope? 29 people? You're going to kick Denver's ass?
All right, let me stop. I like Stone Cold way too much.
Didn't it start at 8? No, you got it.
No, but look, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, though. I think Russ has turned heel, and I just think he's done it in the most passive-aggressive way that you can do it.
I just
floating out the 4 teams that you would play for.
Dude, he seems very genuine.
Having your agent float out the 4 teams that you would play for.
Is this? Are you a fan of Future and his music?
I like his music.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that has anything to do with how you feel about Russ, but people got to start getting mad at Jay-Z too. He had a line in 444 saying something future of your playing with niggas in the league.
He said in the future niggas playing football with your son.
And we know exactly who that. And then he did the whole money thing. There's a lot of stuff Jay was talking about too. But
you know what? If I got some smoke for Jay, I'm calling Jew.
Yeah.
But I just think that Russell is the media darling because he says the things that people want to hear, while meanwhile in the background he's doing the same things that the quote unquote divas are doing. And I just say, Russell, stand on it. You know, I said on the pod yesterday, he's replaced RG3
man, he's the cornball brother.
Yeah.
God. He doesn't have a white wife though. That's like a qualification to be a cornball brother.
He had one.
Yeah, he did. But think about it, he divorced her, apparently for fucking a teammate. We don't know that to be true. I mean, that's about as true as Delonte West fucking LeBron's mom. We don't really know.
Yeah,
it's
but
just like it's kind of an urban legend type thing,
Kind of like T.I.
What about T.I.?
He's the urban legend, the album.
Oh yeah, urban legend, yeah.
But anyways, so do you think the Packers can make a run? Do you think Aaron was afraid of the AFC West? That's why he stayed put.
No, I think his division is definitely up for grabs. I think that Aaron stayed put because they said, we're going to pay you whatever you want. And he said, that'll be fine. Because I think that if he went to Denver, I don't believe Denver would have given him $50 million. I don't believe they're going to give Russ might want to be the highest paid.
Russ is going to ask for 55 because when
we start talking about how these quarterback meters have been pushed. When did Patrick Mahomes sign his deal? Not last offseason. Was it 2? No, it was last offseason. We're talking about we pushed up from 35 to 50 in a matter of 2 years. I mean, what do guys expect to end up happening?
Yeah, I think it's a Dan Patrick topic. Maybe it's a Nick Wright. I don't know.
Are we going to get to the point of where the salary cap won't allow it, and the NFL just got their deal? So when you're paying somebody that much, like Aaron Rodgers in his last 2 years of that contract, or even maybe the second year, bro, he's going to account for, like, if Matt Ryan can account for 30% today of a contract, and granted, that's them pushing all that bonus and stuff back. What is that going to equate to, even with the salary cap going up? Like, what is that going to eventually equate to? Like, you're going to start talking about guys are getting, from a cap perspective, 40% of a team. I mean, come on. That can't go on for forever.
But here's the problem. The agents are manipulating these stiffs for GMs because they actually think that they'll lose the quarterback by not upping the pay each and every time. And we saw it with every time a new quarterback was up, they reset the market. And that shouldn't have happened. You know, there's some, like a Baker Mayfield. The reason why Cleveland's talking about moving on from Baker Mayfield, because he's not going to accept $25 million. Baker's a $25 million quarterback, and he should get $25 million, but he's going to want $45 million. And if Baker asked me to pay him $45 million, I would ask him to go fuck himself, respectfully.
But you know what? They're also going to be like, well, no offense. It's kind of like in the NBA. You know, Michael Jordan in the last 3 years with the Bulls, he made $33 million. It was a 3-year 99 or a 3-year $100 million contract. Nobody else got that. But you know why nobody else got that? Because he's Michael fucking Jordan. And he already was a brand off the field. Patrick Mahomes, it's not like Patrick Mahomes has a signature secret. Neither does Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers also has won 2 straight MVPs, 4 total. He has won a Super Bowl. He is, some would probably say, even in Green Bay, he's better than Brett Favre. And he has, technically, he's done more. He's got more MVPs and he has just the same amount of Super Bowls, even though Brett has been to more Super Bowls. But
hey, you know what? Going to the dance and not get on the dance floor, you know, it's the same as not going.
That's true. It feels the same, except for when you never have been on the dance floor. Now, that's why for us as Falcons fans, we can say, you know, Matt Ryan's the greatest because there's only been 2 Falcons quarterbacks that ever go to Super Bowl. That's Chris Chandler and Matt Ryan. Anyone else at that point, if we're going to talk about championships and are winning something, is irrelevant. Right? So, like, I think that it depends on who you're talking to. But because Green Bay, I mean, at that point, Bart Starr could be the greatest. He's got 2. And he won them back-to-back, right? And granted, nobody
look it.
80, I tell you what, 95% of the fans at Packers games weren't alive for that.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to hear about Bart Starr, just like I don't want to hear about Bill Russell.
Johnny Unitas, all these guys, you know. At least Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we've all seen Game of Death, Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I know. Kareem Abdul, he's fine.
And he's the leading scorer of all time.
Bill Russell, get out of here. I'm an 80s in later guy, man. You know what I mean?
The modern era.
Yeah, modern era. Like the other shit, when you have people still working day jobs and a bunch of segregation going on, I'm not here for it. But hey, question for you, Parlay Pete.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you consume the old First Taker?
I never watch it live. I watch clips on YouTube.
Did you see the clip on YouTube when Stephen A. and Swagoo, I'm a fan of Swagoo, by the way, are discussing Lamar Jackson on The Shop? All right, so super interesting clip, right? Stephen A. Smith, he dressed up some LeBron shade in some of the best designer clothing that you could ever do, right? So here's what he did. Maverick Carter, LeBron James, you know, they're great. They're great businessmen, great acumen, you know, much to be respected. A guy like me Even though I'm older, I would definitely take advice from them, but they have these conversations, but I think they should have more. They should give more advice. They should start telling these people on the shop what they should do. I agree, Stephen A. Give more advice. Maybe you should go EP it, and we'll get there. Or maybe you should open up your own shop, so you can get a cut, Stephen A. Smith.
Well, Stephen A. Shop for sure, but Stephen A.'s been rocking the same haircut for fucking.
It's gotten worse
since I can remember.
It's gotten worse.
Well, he's only losing hair and he's only getting grayer. So
here's where Stephen A. killed me though, because Lamar talked about just some of the the subtle discrimination that he experiences as a black quarterback, and until he gets that ring, it's not going to matter. I mean, they're not going to respect what he does and everything.
That's fair.
Stephen A. said he doesn't care. He said it doesn't matter. He goes, if I'm a white person and I'm looking at this, I see Russell Wilson, I see Dak Prescott, I see Deshaun Watson making all this money. Deshaun's not even playing. Him not playing has nothing to do with him being black. I see, if I'm a white person, I see all these black quarterbacks making all this money. I don't want to hear about Lamar Jackson talking about being discriminated against. And I'm like, Stephen A., you are missing the forest from the trees. Are you really trying to identify that much with your white audience that you can't say them telling somebody who was a Heisman Trophy winner as a quarterback to do some receiver drills, to run the 40 when most quarterbacks who are up there don't have to run the 40? And
then when I'm out in my community, I can't play with the kids.
Right. Like, you're going to get hurt. Man, shut up. Fuck out of here. I can't run a fake route. Like, bro, I'm jogging with the kids.
Hell, if they make the play, it don't make me any worse. I'm in the fucking NFL. So let's say that I'm purposely not even doing what I should be doing just so I don't get hurt, because I'm cautious of my body and myself and my situation. It just, I didn't hear that. I didn't watch that clip, so I haven't seen it.
And the thing is, and that's pretty much what Swagoo was saying. He's like, man, it's not that. Yeah, we know we know teams aren't saying he's black, he can't play. But what they are saying is, and Swagoo said, I'm guilty of it sometimes too. Will he be able to figure it out once the athleticism isn't the same? And that's what Lamar was speaking to. And for Stephen A. to say, if I was a white man, this is what I would think.
Vic figured it out, in my opinion. And we're just going to talk about the most closely related quarterback to Lamar. Once he got out of jail, he was still elusive and could still run. Or not jail, but prison. He got out, he could still run. But was Michael Vick not a much better passer as it got along? And now, obviously, that prime with Philly lasted for 3 years, maybe.
But again, that's because he kept getting hurt.
Right, which is more of the thing Lamar has to worry about, because you do run a lot and you're going to get hit more.
But he's a much larger specimen than Michael Vick.
He is. Yes, he is. He's much larger. And for what it's worth, I'm not saying Vic wasn't a bad boy in 2000, 99. I remember watching some Vic games when I was like 6, 7. I remember when he was at Virginia Tech, because then when Marcus Vick came, like right after him,
he was fixed up.
Yeah, right. Everybody's like, 2.0.
Nah, he just went to prison first.
Right. And so Lamar is different. And athletes today in general are different. There are more things in place to keep these guys healthy, their regimens. I mean, Chris Paul and LeBron James, granted, different sports, so apples and oranges, they spend $1 million on their body a year to make sure. And that's why Chris Paul, even though he's hurting currently on a fluke shit that happened during the All-Star week, Chris Paul, and it's like his fingers, so it's not even like it's like his legs breaking down, but like that's why these guys have had longevity and have had so much success. And then they've had success no matter where they went.
Yeah.
Because think about it, both of them have played on, well, Chris Paul has been on like 5 or 6 teams, but now LeBron's still been on 3 different teams, and we getting the same results.
Yeah.
It's still balling out of control whenever they're on the floor. And I think that the same thing can be said for today's NFL athletes that are certainly the more athletic ones. Now, when you're an injury-prone player coming into the league like Carson Wentz, you know, you're going to bounce around and you might still get injured. But for guys that are out here that are athletic, you know, you've seen it change a little. That's why somebody like an Adrian Peterson can tear his ACL and then almost break the fucking rushing record the very next year.
But Adrian Peterson's never going to happen again because teams aren't going to invest in a running back, and he's not going to get the carries.
Let's see what King Henry does this upcoming season, because this will be interesting. That was his first serious injury. I'm curious to see where's he going to get drafted in fantasy. Like Christian McCaffrey looks like he's breaking down a little, right? Like
Christian McCaffrey's toast. If you take him in before the third round, you're an idiot.
In a 12 or 10 team or 8 team.
Don't give a damn.
I bet money somebody.
Well, 12 teamer, I'd give you second round. Back at the end of the second.
I think he's the back of the second round. I agree. He might have a new team too, by the way.
Yeah, he should. I wouldn't.
Is somebody going to want to pay him $15 million a year to potentially get hurt in the third game?
He's played 10 games since he signed that contract.
I know. He's happy because he's getting paid to not do nothing, but like, you know.
I mean, he's a small body guy.
Saquon. See, running back to me.
Yo. I told y'all about Saquon a long time ago. He's a fourth rounder for Saquon. That's what the market is for Saquon. He went second overall. Hey, Gettleman, you won't work in this business again.
Hey, and as we know, I'm going to continue to bring up the Falcons. If the Falcons gave up before,
I'll take him. 4-4.
I would too. And even if we don't re-sign him and pay him, I'd let his ass fucking walk, you know, just to get that season out of him. But then again, are we setting him up for failure? Even though, you know, we didn't have a problem running the football this year the way that we had in the past. It was just split amongst two guys. We had
a Mike Davis problem. I don't think we had a.
Yeah, because clearly when Cordero got the ball.
I mean, watching it in person, as soon as Mike Davis gets the ball, you're like, what?
Yeah, it reminded me of the last couple of years of Warwick Dunn getting the ball. And I remember at the Georgia Dome, the PA announcer just being like, Warwick Dunn, 2-yard carry. And like, it just, bro, that shit used to irritate us. And that's why, you know, Michael Vick would obviously, very next play, fuck it. Crump's not open. Finneran's not open. 19-yard game, Michael Vick, crowd goes crazy. You know, he might stiff arm a nigga, or he's holding that bitch like a loaf of bread. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you know, they said Michael Vick had small hands. They said Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett has the smallest hands since Michael Vick. I saw that. I did see that. Yeah.
Pickett said it doesn't matter when I throw it on a rope for 45 yards. Too bad Malik is out here throwing 70-yard bombs, buddy.
Atlanta boy, by the way. But I still don't want him. I hope they don't draft him. Unless they're going to trade Michael Vick. I mean, Matt Ryan. Hey, I don't want him. I don't know why you would draft him at 8.
Let's talk Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, the Commanders. Yo, Carson Wentz is
You mean, and you know, he's already got a nickname for them. He's Commander Carson. Or Carson the Commander.
Hey, Dale.
I'm serious. This is like the thing now. For them.
Hey, Dale, you guys are going to fucking suck. And your locker room's going to be split down the middle because y'all got Carson Wentz.
You got to cut this clip to send, even if it's specifically to them, so that he can hear that. You guys are fucking done. You offered a better package for Russell Wilson. According to sources, that they offered a better package, but Pete said, nah, he's chewing his gum. He's like, nah, I don't even want to have to play Russ.
Other reports also said that
Russ probably would have chosen Denver over
that Denver was the team that Russell would have accepted the trade to, and they did it like a Matthew Stafford trade. Like, hey, where do you want to go? Which is more damning about Russell's like, yeah, bro, we want you out of here, man. You pick your destination.
But it's also respect for what he's done.
Yeah, I'm not really big into that if I'm in the front office. I'm more Belichick style. Like, we're done with you. We're gonna throw you out.
We're gonna get what we can.
Like I gotta keep working here. You don't, bro. Fuck what you gonna do next. I need to know. Like that ain't for me. So, anyways, Carson Wentz is on his third team in 3 years. Reports came running out of Indy today talking about how bad leader, upset people in the front office early on. Frank Reich apparently had to go apologize to the owner about sticking his neck out for him. So, hey, Frank Reich, you're on the hot seat this year, buddy, if you didn't know that. So Carson Wentz cooked.
Well, you want to know what I think with Frank Reich, too? At the end of the day, these guys were 9-6. All they had to do was win one of the last 2 games.
Yeah, beat Jacksonville.
You play the Raiders, but you play the Raiders the week before at home.
Wasn't that the Carson COVID game though?
No, he played. He played.
No, he played in every game, but
every game this year.
I think that's the game he missed practice because of COVID though.
Might have, but point is, you were at home, and for what it's worth, the Colts started like 1-4, but like nonetheless, he didn't perform when it mattered, and so like Frank knew that there was a better option at quarterback. Now I'm curious as to what that better option is, because there's only basically 2 to 3 guys you can even potentially get, and Deshaun Watson's not in. The Texans aren't trading him to the Colts. So you start talking about, obviously, the obvious answer, Jimmy G.
James Garoppolo.
And I think the Steelers are going to still be the team that ends up getting him, unless they want to go with the Kenny Pickett hometown story thing, whatever that means.
Kenny Pickett's hands are like the size of mine. I'm not drafting that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and so you start talking. It's either him, possibly Matt Ryan. That's still.
Hey, Dan Patrick floated it out.
I would love for Matt Ryan if we are for real not trying to win, because our division still looks like dog shit. So it's just like, to me, I'm just like, man, if we can make some moves, we can still win this division and build for the future at the same time. Because don't draft a quarterback at 8, but like
at the
I
same
would love for
time,
Matt Ryan to get traded if we're not going to try and compete.
Here's the thing. I would like for us to trade Matt Ryan to Indy.
Are all here to do what Falcons do. Look at that.
Because, and I say that because I think if Matthew Stafford gets to pick his next resting place, Matt Ryan definitely deserves it.
Absolutely.
He's done
more for the Falcons than he ever did for the Lions.
Exactly. And Indy is ready to win. Good offensive line, which Matt Ryan needs. Good enough receivers. Good running game and good enough receivers.
And a solid defense.
Exactly.
Top half of the league defense.
And I want to.
And he gets to stay in a dome.
Yep. Give me 2 twos and a Southern division. Because here's the thing. That definitely works for them. For Atlanta, I support taking Malik Willis because I think for fanfare, that's great.
Oh, you're trading Matt Ryan.
Oh, and even if we take him on,
I'm not taking him at 8 and he's sitting a year. Play that nigga. Like, my point is, your team has so many holes. Why would you draft somebody that's not gonna contribute immediately? Like, you have too many holes.
If we keep Matt Ryan,
considering the quarterback class is better next year.
If we keep Matt Ryan, we need to trade back.
I agree. Because there are that many holes. Like, at least build up the team for after this year.
And I want to
decide to cut bait on Matt Ryan or whatever. At least build it up to where your rookie quarterback's got a young core that he's going to be able to grow with too. And by 2024, we're talking about, potentially competing, like not just for the division, but maybe where they can, if this guy's, if it's Bryce Young, for instance,
or CJ Stroud,
like year 2, year 3, we're talking about Super Bowls, like I am okay with that if we're going to keep him and not trade him, and we're not going to try and compete next year. That's the only scenario where I want that, because then the thought is that, well, is Matt Ryan good enough again to win us 8 or 7 games or something like that? Sure. Is he good enough?
Probably.
And so you're gonna fuck yourself out of the Bryce Young sweepstakes if you do that.
Exactly. So Carson Wentz, is there anything else to say about him? I don't really think so.
Hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
And I think he's painting himself in a corner where he can't even be a backup, because if he's not a good locker room guy, he serves no purpose on your roster.
Well, the Panthers were interested in bringing back Cam Newton. So I don't know what type of locker room guy he is, but I just know he can't play anymore.
Apparently, he's a good locker room guy. They really liked him in New England. Liked him enough.
That's the ultimate compliment, right?
Yeah. Khalil Mack, blockbuster trade right before we recorded. Khalil Mack to the Chargers. Dang, Russ. Heating up out there, buddy.
It's and like I said in the group, another shoe's got to fall because free agency hadn't even technically started. We're talking just trades.
Mm-hmm.
So let alone once we find out where guys are going, there's going to be more trades. It's looking tough in that division, man. I think the Broncos almost have to add another guy, like even for receiving core. I like Cortland Sutton, and I think that Jerry Jeudy obviously can be very good. We know this. The Bama guy, all the Bama receivers are good, even if they gamble on games. They're good, right?
And
I mean, Amari Cooper's going to be open.
And drive drunk late at night. And
Allen Robinson. You said what?
And even if they drive drunk late at night and they have accidents.
There's that part of it, too.
Yeah, that's really sad and unfortunate, but he was still good.
He was. Look.
Probably was a bad joke, though, huh?
Well, a little somber. I'm not gonna lie. You're giving me somberness from it, because you're talking low and like, oh.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was, I wasn't just taking that shit lightly.
Well, you shouldn't, and nobody should, and so but
nonetheless, yeah, the Alabama receivers worked except for Jerry Jeudy, who was supposed to show up to the pros and be good, but we could blame it on Drew Lock.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It's too early in a defensive team that runs the ball. It's too early to write the story on this guy. But it would still help to get another guy because Jeudy can be your slot. Cortland Sutton's clearly more vertical, and he's okay, but he's got an injury history himself. And Jerry Jeudy was hurt this past year. Like, he missed 7 games. So, he got hurt too. But, it remains to be seen. They probably should add another guy. And if they were going to try and get Aaron Rodgers and pay him and also get Devontae Adams and pay him, clearly they've got enough cap space to sign people. And so
I forgot how much they got left, but they still got a decent amount of cap space.
You can bring back Vaughn as long as he's not trying to break the bank to come home. And then you go out and you get Amari Cooper or Allen Robinson. It can work out relatively well for those guys. And that's why in this division, they're going to have to do something because I do not want to see Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald 4 times in a year. That's a quarter of your season that you got to play these guys. The AFC West is going to be on national TV.
Not Aaron Donald.
Oh, no.
Bosa,
Damn,
Mack.
I did say Donald earlier.
Yeah.
You
Bosa,
got
Mack.
Mack.
Chris Jones. I talked. The guy I worked with played against Chris Jones in high school. He said it was a problem.
I bet the hell he was. I know that I made a huge error in the group.
Frank Clark?
Frank Clark, yeah, he plays for, man, Joe Burrow was getting that ball off like it was nothing. And so
true.
He was.
Hey, we gotta talk some basketball before we're done now.
Oh, for sure. Well, we can move on to it. Let's move on.
I'm just, dude, the Lakers stink.
Oh, they more than stink. Let me tell you, I literally watched overtime yesterday, and I didn't know how I was supposed to feel about it because as a fan, I've been a Lakers fan since I can remember because I'm a Kobe fan. And so that's how I became a Lakers fan, Kobe. It wasn't Shaq, it was Kobe.
Like Kobe and Shaq, take that.
Yeah. And of course, when I became a fan, of course, they were good. I mean, they were winning. But at the same time, as somebody from Atlanta that went to Hawks games, had season tickets, Jason Terry and Allen Henderson, they didn't move the needle for me. And then you go and get Sharif, that didn't move the needle either. Then you move on from that era where Terry's gone and Sharif's gone. You have this weird era where you got Antoine Walker playing for you for a year, Tyronn Lue. Rasheed Wallace gave you one game. A lot of stuff that I can remember in that era. Dan Dickow, Deion Glover. Look, I could name off so many Hawks players. It's not even funny because I remember these guys seriously playing for the Hawks. Theo Ratliff after the Dikembe trade once he went to Philly. A lot of guys. And so, it was always hard to be a Hawks fan. So, of course, I was a Lakers fan. I love Kobe. And the NBA is all about player, probably more than team. I mean, you want the team to win. Like, I still love I want the Hawks to win. Like, I love the Hawks. I still go to games. We were at a playoff game this year. Yep. I still love the Hawks. I want the Hawks to win. I'm in Atlanta. I'm a homer. I do want them to win. I promise. But I was a Lakers fan. And so to see what it's come to today, I think you had put up something. James Worthy had said something. He said, I didn't think that it could get any lower than what it was, and it did tonight. And I agree with him as a Lakers legend himself and somebody that's still works for them, right?
Big game James.
Big game James.
Yeah, he's on the pre and post.
Lakers, yeah, they're Comcast, whatever that thing is. And so, it was bad, man. When I turned it on, me and Justice were thinking about betting on it. And the odds, let me tell you what the odds were at overtime. Start overtime, 5 minutes. Ball hadn't been tipped off, whatever. Minus 200. So you would have had to put down 200 smackaroos to win 100 on the Lakers. I don't know who would have made that bet because the fact that it even got to OT and LeBron James is on the floor and Christian Wood didn't even play in that game, and that's the Rockets' best player. And so that's what makes it a little bit more disappointing. The Lakers, man, they are in a free fall. They've got to blow that thing up. I get it. They're not going to fire Frank Vogel. It's honestly too late now. It's like 15 or 16 games left. You can't even fire Vogel. If you believe that maybe just a new voice would be helpful, they've just got to coast this thing out, and hopefully they get to the play-in and it's looking like if they do get the play-in, they'll be the 10. They'll probably play because the Clippers are so far ahead of the Pelicans. They'll probably play the Pelicans. Game will probably be in New Orleans. Who knows? Big ass Zion Williamson. They said he had some basketball activity not too long ago. Maybe he can make a postseason return.
I love it, baby.
Zion playing.
I know we ain't talked about it all year.
I'm sure.
But anywho, CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram sounds like a fucking mismatch to me against anybody on the Lakers. Including LeBron.
Who's going to guard him?
I don't know. And that's the issue because Russ certainly can't fit with McCollum.
Maybe Street Clothes comes back.
He ain't going to save that season. Nigga ain't nothing saving this season for them. I mean, it's just, at this point, it's just to be respectable. I mean, everybody talked about how disappointing that Lakers team was with
Nash and Dwight Howard.
Yeah, and Kobe. And granted, that's the year Kobe tears his Achilles at they had 4 games left. He tears it against Golden State, walks up to that free throw line, nails them both, and then that was the last of prime Kobe Bryant we ever got to see. Aside from, his last game, even though he took a ton of shots, he still shot like 50%. So, I mean,
shots, yeah.
So, hey, look, that was outside of that game, giving us some nostalgia. That was the end of Kobe Bryant, right? As we knew it. And so that team was disappointing to everybody because even if he didn't get hurt, they were still destined to be the 7th seed. Now, they weren't going to beat the Spurs because they got swept by the Spurs that year. I remember what happened. They got swept by the Spurs that year. They were the 7th seed playing against the 2. The Spurs swept them. And that was expected. Steve Nash damn near didn't play the whole year anyways. And Powell and Dwight were not beating Duncan and Pop. And Tony and Ginobili, they weren't beating those guys. They just weren't going to beat them. Dwight's not – he wasn't that dominant, goddammit. As good as he wasn't that fucking good. And even Powell, people that season, that was the first year of people really, Lakers fans, getting into Powell saying, man, he's soft. Because everybody used to say he was soft before he got.
Bayless used to call him soft.
Before he got to the Lakers, people said that he was soft, but he played for the Grizzlies, so nobody really cared. When he got to the Lakers, it was like, well, he's soft, but who cares? Bynum is the muscle, and they worked so well in this high-low situation. That's why the Lakers were winning. And Lamar Odom's 6-man to sub out one or the other whenever. So like the Lakers were constructed so beautifully. I miss that era of basketball. But point being, let's get to the current Lakers. They suck. They're finished, and RIP. Floor is yours.
Yeah, you're right. It's a bad TV product at this point.
Awful TV product.
Like, I'm tired of looking at Anthony Davis in his street clothes and his dope boy glasses.
And you were telling us that we're crazy to think that they need to trade him. You were not for that move. I said this shit like last year,
bro.
You and Josh were against it.
I sent the move to y'all saying Stephen A needs to be fired from ESPN because of it.
And that was this season. I've been saying it as early as last year. I remember they lost a game to the Pistons last year. Last year's Pistons. They lost a game to like the Pistons. I just remember like thinking to myself, I was like, and obviously they ended up being the 7th seed, but I was like, man, there's something wrong with this team. Like, like he was injured last year too. There was just a lot going on, and it's one of those things where it's not that he's not still a good player, but at the same time, you say Lakers are god awful. Is that because they are actually one of the worst skilled teams, or is it that they just not living up to their potential, or other people overhyping them? I'm gonna be honest with you, Book of Eli. I think that they were overhyped to begin with because at the end of the day, the fit was never good, and it's just proving itself. Now, even with the bad fit, I also don't believe that they should be this bad. It probably doesn't help that Anthony Davis has missed almost half the season.
Call him by his name.
Who's Book of Eli?
No, I'm talking about Anthony Davis. Street clothes.
Oh, yeah, street clothes. At the end of the day, I think it was a bad fit to begin with. The way that the spacing on the floor, I remember seeing in that first game against Golden State when they lost. Now, granted, we didn't know that Golden State was going to be that good, right? But even in that first game, DeAndre Jordan was starting at center.
Street clothes at power forward.
Power forward. LeBron at the 3. Kent Bazemore was the 2, and Russ was the 1. So Kent obviously wasn't getting any shots because he sucks offensively, and he still sucks offensively. He's never been an offensive player. The thought was he's going to be the defensive guy, right? LeBron's LeBron, so LeBron. AD's supposed to really – should have been the year where AD's your best player. Like, LeBron should not still be your best player in year 19. Like, come on.
We also didn't expect
Anthony Davis is a top 75 player. Anthony Davis – if Anthony Davis is a top 75 player and LeBron's in year 19, there's no reason LeBron James should be the best player on the team. There's no reason. Then Anthony Davis isn't really a top 75 player.
Well, I'm thinking we can vote Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook out of the top 75. But that's
shit. You 28 years old. You're in the prime of your career.
Yeah, you should be balling.
19, LeBron should not be the best player on the team. And that's been the case even when Anthony Davis has been on the floor. He's not as good as we thought he was. It's not that he wasn't as great when they got him and what they thought they were getting. It's not that wasn't true, that he was a top 5 player.
He just didn't elevate. He didn't elevate.
He didn't. He has not elevated, and injuries have only slowed him down. And he's still a good player. He's just not – he's not what we thought he was. And Russ, obviously, like I said, he just doesn't fit with that. And DeAndre Jordan plays on another team right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at this team is all I'm saying. It was badly constructed, but at the same time, you would still think, even with that bad construction, that they're not this bad. They might be the worst team in the NBA.
They're playing like it. And I'll tell you what,
but I'm just saying they might be.
And I'll tell you what, man, the one of the nasty things that's come out of this has been the criticism of Russell Westbrook. And
he played well yesterday.
Good for him.
Yeah, that one game.
But here's the thing, though. So Russell Westbrook, he started his career in OKC, small market insulated media. Whatever Russell says goes. When they called Kevin Durant Mr. like unreliable, they had that story pulled. Okay, that's the environment that Russell came from. Then he goes to Houston. They disappoint during COVID, and people kind of knew that once CP3 left, that it was done, and they were going to blame James before they blamed Russ. Then he goes to Washington, and there's no expectations in Washington. And
he takes them to the playoffs.
he takes him to the playoffs. Now he's
competitive. I think they won. Did that series go 6? It might have won 5, but
whatever.
He's still playing with a player that in reality, as good as Bradley Beal is too, he's a question mark in my opinion. What has he done?
Scored a lot of points.
Outside of individually be great. What has Bradley Beal done in the NBA?
Scored a lot of points. That's all. So
he's still and he gets injured too.
Yeah, so you take that. Now he's finally like in a big major market with high expectations. And
he's home.
I'm
sure he grew up a Lakers fan.
And he's getting his shit pushed in for not playing well. And his
own people are booing him.
Right. He's getting booed by fans. He's getting called Westbrook and shit. And now and here's the sad part about it. His wife, he doesn't want his wife and kids coming to the games anymore because of the way the fans are treating them. Hey, fans, Russell Westbrook don't owe you shit. And you can hate the way he plays, but you can't hate the effort that he brings to the court every single day. The first time I saw Russell Westbrook play in person, I was turned off because he played so damn hard. I'm like, bro, you are up by 12 right now. Why are you jumping into the seats to save a ball? But nonetheless, Russ brings that motor to the arena every night. And that's why we've been blinded by his effort for so many years, because he brings it on a Tuesday in a G League game. Granted, he's never played in the G League, but understand where I'm coming from. If he's on the court, he has that high intensity, that high motor. So for you fans who are disappointed by his play, it tells me that you haven't watched basketball. And I knew the fit was going to be off. I just thought that they were going to stagger the minutes and it would work and let Russ have his time and let LeBron and AD have their time, right? But anyways, for you to be like saying nasty shit to his wife and his kids, and for him to not want his wife and kids at games, fuck y'all. Y'all don't deserve to watch basketball. Y'all don't deserve to come to a fucking game. Get a fucking life, you creep.
That's bad fan decor. You know what I mean? Like, that's bad fan decor. Now, granted, typically it's Falcons fans, but I've met plenty of Falcons parents, like on road games, the airport, even home games.
Yeah. I met Calvin Ridley's parents a few years ago at a game.
Yeah. And like, certainly I'm not the road team. But at the same time, nobody around me is harassing these people. Now, granted, if you're wearing a jersey, like who was it that played for us? When I went to Chicago, the year after the Super Bowl, the first game was at Chicago. He got Reed is his last name. We got him from the Texans. White guy, had hair just like Clay Matthews. I don't know if you remember him. I forgot his first name, but Reed was his last name.
Linebacker?
Yeah.
I remember the look. I just don't remember the.
We got the sack that on Mike Glennon to end the game because it was a 4th down to end that game. Point being, none of the Bears fans were being nasty to these people. And obviously that's his fucking parents because they're wearing the jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has his jersey. He's not a star on the team. And
sell that shit at the store at the stadium.
It's just, have some common decency as a person. Because these people, yes, it's entertainment. And yes, they do make millions of dollars, but don't be harassing or saying, like, if I'm at a Lakers game and I call, let's say that on this podcast, I call Russell Westbrook brick. I'm not even yelling that shit at a game. I'm just like, fuck. Like, if anything, I'm just getting upset. Like, I'm not, you're almost doing it on purpose because they're there.
You can call him Westbrook. I'm okay with that. You can boo. You can say, Westbrook, you suck. You can do all of that. But that's all about the game. And I can understand Westbrook being upset about, hey, don't play with my name. My name is Westbrook. Call me by my name. Got you. And I'm going to tell you, Russell Westbrook, part of what you're doing, if you shot better, they wouldn't call you Westbrook. And you make $44 million and you'll make $47 million playing basketball next year. So guess what, bro? You're going to get caught Westbrook, okay? Get over it. I will say that because that's in the confines of the game. And even that nickname, those aren't fighting words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not fighting words. But like when you call Paul Gasol, Skip Bayless, those are fighting words. when you call Chris Bosh Spice, or them fighting words, even though they're funny, they're fighting words, man. So you got to be careful.
Bosh Spice.
Yes, Skip Bayless calls this man Bosh Spice.
What an asswipe.
Right. Like Chris Bosh will beat your ass, kill.
Right. And that is when
and that's the thing. Say some shit. You have to act like you can get your ass whooped for saying the stuff that you say, and that
you're willing to fight said person for
exactly. And too often that doesn't happen. So my thing is, Westbrook is being sensitive, yeah, because he's been insulated most of his career, and now he has real expectations, and he's not meeting them. So he's catching that flack. He's catching that heat. Part of being LeBron's teammate too. But dog, I'm gonna tell you, get over it. But hold on, man. We got to hit a couple more basketball topics. It's getting fucking late.
Let's do it.
The new Kobe and Shaq, who are currently getting smoked right now by the Brooklyn Nets. It came up in the group text today talking about could Embiid and James Harden be the next Kobe and Shaq. For one, they're at different places in their careers. So I think both are more humble at this phase of their career than Kobe and Shaq were because they've been disappointed enough times.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they have enough time to be Kobe and Shaq. But what I didn't like in the group commentary was that they can't be Kobe and Shaq. I don't think they will be. But to say that they can't be.
Fair. We have to see what happens.
To say that they can't be through 5 games, I just think that's dismissive, and that's in the Skip Bayless shit. You know.
Well, now this is why I just in totality, and the NBA is a tale of two halves. I don't know if you know what the current score is, but the Brooklyn Nets are playing the Sixers, and they're getting their shit pushed in.
I know.
I'm fucking them up right now, 72-51, and so I think that because Kobe and Shaq are just such all-time great players, this is another first take topic, right? They had put up the 75, listing them in order, and a lot of people were upset that Kobe was 10th and that Shaq wasn't even in the top 10 to begin with. I think they're both top 10 players, in my opinion. And I don't think that either of those guys' ceilings, personally, based on what I know, I don't believe that either of them are top 10 players of all time material. So that's like why I won't like as great of
that metric.
As great of a scorer as James Harden is, and he has his Kobe-like moments when he's heating up. And we can even argue, obviously, he's a triple-double himself, right? He's a walking triple-double to some degree. You could argue his overall game is better than Kobe's. I don't think he's better than Kobe, though. Like, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't win. And so Kobe was winning, and Kobe might maybe not necessarily have a triple-double, but Kobe's career averages, including the first 2 years of his career being benched, essentially, and then the last 4 years of basically not being on the team.
Wasn't good anymore. He was hurt. He just wasn't
right. His career average is still averaged out to 25, 5, and 5. So, he was still very productive his entire career, and that doesn't even really tell you what those true stats were. Is that Batman McDonald's hat? What's that about? I like to throw on a bunch of different hats on the show. Book of Eli. It doesn't mean anything. It's a vintage hat, though. I think
at Rocco Book of Eli, he commented on one of my old posts, and he wasn't fucking with it, but then he went through the channel and he subscribed and he liked some of the other stuff. So hey, Book of Eli, you're a true fan, dog, and we fuck with you.
Good deal. Yeah, and absolutely. Keep watching, comment. We'll always, respond and stuff.
We're here for it. Hey, man, baseball's back though.
It is. I'm really pumped about it. I mean, it was some of the best news that came out today. Aside from,
I was worried you're going to have to bet on the USFL in the spring.
Gosh, no. No.
So baseball's back. I think I hit it last week, but the heat that Manfred was getting from the players, that's just lets me know that y'all aren't reading the CBA anyways, because y'all don't understand the job of a commissioner. He works for the owners. He doesn't work for y'all. He's supposed to be a liaison, but at the end of the day, they will fire his ass.
They will. They will most definitely fire his ass. At the end of the day, right, like you said, he's the liaison, he's the mouthpiece, he's the CEO of the MLB. They named him president of their company. And he just so happens to have 30 different or 31. MLB's 31.
I don't know. I got better things to do than count Major
It
League
is. It's
Baseball teams.
31. It's 31.
'Cause you know what? You know what
Here's
I'm
why
counting
it's
right now,
31.
baby?
Because there's one division in baseball that has 6 teams, and there's 3 different on each side. There's 31 teams because there's one division that literally has 6 teams. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, look, this stuff, it's millionaires talking to billionaires. They just want the billionaires to budge, and the billionaires are just like, we're still paying y'all a shitload to like do this. It's literally them trying to nickel and dime each other. And I like the agreement. Don't know anything about the money. The only thing I know is that the league minimum went from 500 to 700,000. The NL now will have DH. Thank you, God. It went on for too long. You finally get a DH, and now we've got 6 teams on each side in the playoffs. Now I'm curious if that format will be like the old NFL where 3 versus 6, and then 4 versus 5, and then 1 and 2 get a bye. Now I'm curious as to how that's going to work.
They probably want more games. I'm curious if
do you think it'll be a 5-game series between the 3 and the 6 and the 4 and the 5, and then the 1 and the 2, they get the winners of each, whichever's the lower seed, and then it's 7?
I think they may do some of that weird play-in style wild card shit.
But they already did that by adding from when it was 4 to 5, because then it's that 1 and 1.
You're right.
You can't do that with the 3 seed. You can't do that with a division winner.
I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm just going to sit back and wait, to be honest with you. Did they do anything about trying to put in the cap? I know they're trying to put in the cap. And they were playing around with like the soft cap because they do have a luxury tax in MLB. Did the PA get the pushback on that one?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea. All I've seen is what flashed up, but like those were the 3 biggest takeaways for me. I mean, that the league minimum, that guys are going to get paid $700K minimum, that there's a DH in the NL, which might have been the most important because now you don't have to be a one-sided guy. Like a guy like granted, Albert Pujols' career is it's done, but like he could have been of use to a team as a DH potentially. I look at our Atlanta Braves. You had a tough decision to make. Rosario, Soler, young Jock, like none of those guys from what baseball homers, guys that are really into, because I'm into baseball, but I'm not into it like them. Basically, none of those guys are shit on defense. So the point is that now it opens up the idea of having one of those guys. Ozuna, for instance, I know was more of a DH guy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people slot him more of a DH because he's a great hitter. Now you're opening yourself up to more opportunity for the player because a pitcher's not trying to fucking hit anyways. And for what it's worth, even if a guy like Shohei Ohtani wants to be a DH in a game on the days he's not pitching, he can do that. Or on the day he's pitching. It doesn't really matter. He can still do it. He can still be a DH and a pitcher. So I just like the flexibility that it brings, and it just brings more baseball, better baseball. You don't have to be as strategic with your –
and I think
my pitcher out because I want him to pitch longer, but he's also up the bat, and we've got 2 outs and 2 men on.
And I think baseball's gotten to that point to where it's become too strategic that it's just not a good TV show.
They're so analytical.
Right, and I'm hoping they ban the shift as well so that we just have better hitting. More doubles instead of home runs and strikeouts. I'm looking forward to it. But do you think our hometown Braves, our World Series championship Braves,
that's correct. You better name them that way too, because that's exactly what they are. They're world fucking champs.
Do the world champions bring back Freddie Freeman?
If I was a betting man, which I am, I'd honestly say no. I don't think that they're going to pay him what he wants. And the question is going to be, is he willing to take a little bit less? Let's say that they're going to offer him $35 million a year, and he wants a 6-year deal. They're willing to give him a 4 with the 5th as the option. I don't think that they're going to cave. It's unfortunate. I just have to go off the history of what the Braves do, and the Braves don't pay people, and that's just the real truth. I mean, Ronald Acuna and all the Albies are already underpaid, and
young boys.
even if you look at Freddie's last deal, he left some. It seems like he left some. Maybe he wasn't as great yet, but 8-year, 150, and he played out the whole contract and didn't ask for an extension in between or rip it up and let's do a new one. I think that he's going to go out and get certainly whatever the market value. I think he would be willing to stay for the market value. If they're willing to give him the 35 and the 5 years guaranteed with the 6 option, I think he's going to stay. But I think that, like I'm saying, he would choose that over if the Mariners gave him 5 years, the same deal.
Hey, look here. If he takes anything to go to the Mariners, like, you're killing yourself, dude. Like, I understand taking more money, but at the expense of playing good baseball and being.
Now he's won, and he's a legend here no matter what.
You're right.
Yeah, it's not like he has anything else to prove. It's just a matter of how much does he want to stay here.
Probably not much.
He's a California guy too, and you know that I bet the Dodgers would open up their. I don't know who's their first baseman. I know that they have been putting what's his face, and he had a bad year, even though he showed up in the playoffs for them. What's his face has been there, or he's played first base. Muncy is their first baseman.
Okay.
But I know that they put what's that young ass motherfucker's name?
You got
young motherfucker, man. No, the young motherfucker, not Mookie. That son of a bitch that looks high every time he's hitting the ball. Like, his name's not coming to me. He's an MVP.
Yo, you know what we didn't talk about while we're talking football?
Who?
That Jerry Jones lawsuit.
Cody Bellinger is who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. He's there.
Young motherfucker. He had a terrible season. He showed up in the playoffs. He hit that big home run against the Braves.
He did.
That kept them from getting swept is what happened. He had like a fucking, like, it was a 3-run homer or it was a grand. He hit something. Literally kept them from getting swept.
He had a bomb disco inferno.
He did. But point being, before we get to Jerry Jones, all I'm saying is with the Braves when it comes to Freddie is they can look at it a couple of different ways, obviously. You won without Acuna, you got Acuna, and he's the future anyways, right? That was the thought before we won the World Series, that Acuna is still the future of the team.
I hope we pay his ass and don't say because we won the World Series without him that we ain't got to pay him. That would piss me off.
If we don't pay him, then they better bring in a whole lot of free agents too, because every Braves nation is going to be pissed. If you
we love Acuna.
Freddie Freeman is literally the new Chipper Jones. Now you let Andrew go. Nobody, it's the nigga or whatever, but like, you know, you let him go. It's just, there's too much of a love now for Freddie. Freddie is the face of the Even though Acuna might be your best player, Freddie's still the face of the Braves.
He is Cobb County Braves. Freddie Freeman and my guy.
Niggas love him.
And Danzy Swanson.
Yeah, because Danzy's the hometown kid. But niggas still love Freddie.
Yeah,
I think that the city is going to have an attachment to every player. And we know that you can't keep a championship team. There's always going to be someone gone. But, gosh, that'd be like if Aaron Donald was a free agent and the Rams just let him walk. How can you do that? How? You can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. So I hope that they do. But if I was betting on it, I'm going to be honest. I think that somebody's going to pay him more than he's just going to leave.
Hey, man, I got to make these YouTube chops. Let's get to Jerry Jones.
Let's get it.
Because we still got to talk about some pop culture filth and woman talk.
Let's do it.
So you see the thing about Jerry Jones being sued by an alleged daughter?
Yeah, I did.
Why is she suing him?
Well, how long has she known is my question, more than anything. I think what she's suing about, which is weird because she should really be suing her mom, based on what I read. Her mom...
That's what Wayne said last night. We talked about
because it only makes sense to you. It's like, well, you can't really sue him for making her sign for you.
What do you think her mom has in her assets, versus what Jerry's assets are?
Well, I don't know what she got paid, right? We don't know.
Look, here's what I'm saying. This
happened in 1985, right? And he could have given her $1 million, which back then That's maybe what, 5 today or something. I don't know.
Plenty.
The agreement could have been done. Maybe she could be suing over the non-disclosure in the contract of this won't come out. And you're gonna maybe in the contract it doesn't say anything about allocating, because everybody knows that a contract can't be signed by a 1-year-old. So
maybe she's saying, "Hey, I'm suing you for the years of support that I did not receive from you because of the deal that you made with my mom." Some weird shit like that. Which again, I don't know, man. Jerry, strap it up there, old fella.
these guys, the longer they've been in the game, the more that they've learned. And that's why Drake knows how to put hot sauce in his condoms. Because he's like, well, I know I didn't nothing no bit. Like, I know I didn't nothing nobody. And he's like, well, they could easily take my semen and do something with it.
I mean, shit, you see what happened to Chris Brown? He got the text messages of a girl who alleged rape on him, and her lawyer just dropped her. But ain't nobody screaming, "Liberate Chris Brown!" And I think it's a sad culture, man. And look, to the girl who's suing Jerry Jones, you're gonna lose, even if you deserve to win, because this is Jerry Jones here. He has the most valuable sports franchise in the world.
Yep.
Your lawyers can't compete. So maybe she'll get some money to shut the fuck up.
They can't compete.
Not saying that's what I would do, because, if I found out that I had an outside child and I had Jerry Jones money, I would make sure that I set that child up to be, taken care of. I'm not saying you can come into the fold and you can help run the Cowboys. We might give you a little baby percentage and give you a couple mil to go on and, live your life. Because at the end of the day, I think men should step up to the responsibility that they have. But yeah, like, you're not about to, your introduction to me is not going to be a lawsuit, baby. And that's not going to go well.
And I'm 100% with you on that. It just, at the end of the day, it's a case that's going to be a developing story. Man, Jerry's had a pretty rough offseason, hasn't he?
What? Wait, he's losing his players. He should lose his coach.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people were, your coach should be gone.
He's not gonna hire a black coach.
You're covering up for somebody that worked for you that was peeking on the cheerleader. I mean, he's had a rough offseason.
I mean, but does any of this shock you? He's an 80-year-old billionaire.
Well, now that you bring it up like that, he really actually hasn't had a rough offseason, because he's still a billionaire and he's on his way out of life in reality.
And they're not going to take the team from him.
Well, and more importantly, unless he's summoned to court and his attorneys can't handle it, that man is sipping a pina colada on his yacht right now at night. And it could be at night and it's still shining on him.
You're absolutely right. Hey, I got something for you. It's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I want to say a big fuck you to every person who decided to touch another human being without fucking consent.
What do you mean?
That's the post.
Is that the definition of sexual assault?
That's Google.
I'm curious, if you tap somebody to talk to them, whether it be, ma'am, you've got shit on your shoe, you just stepped in my dog's shit, or I would like to take you out on a date because from behind you look beautiful, and now that you've turned around, I'm even more astonished. I mean, I'm curious as to
here goes your definition. According to Wikipedia, sexual assault is an act which one intentionally sexually touches another person without that person's consent, or coerces or physically forces a person to engage in a sexual act against their will. Okay. It is a form of sexual violence which includes child sex abuse, groping, rape, forced vaginal, anal, or oral penetration, or drug-facilitated sexual assault, or the torture of the person in a sexual manner. Okay. So I guess if you touch a thigh and she doesn't want it, that's technically sexual assault. So I brought this up as a topic because my 22-year-old cousin posted it on her Instagram story last night.
Okay.
And I was like, in today's climate, I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But I will tell you, there's a generation older than you who wasn't raised this way and have touched women and have been touched by women, let's be real. And
It goes both ways. It's not talked about very often.
Yeah,
but,
but like it wasn't
I can get fucking harassed by getting texts and phone calls. Like,
bro, right.
I don't want them.
But I was telling her, I was like, hey, there's a group of people who weren't raised on this right here. Like, bro, if we're being honest, you and I weren't raised on that. There are things that we did in middle school and high school that was cool that is not cool today, and we won't speak on those things. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know any better, and we weren't fucking rapists.
and let me tell you too, obviously, that isn't the excuse for not knowing better. It's just more of a
you got to judge society in the lens that it occurs in, right? When I see people getting killed for what they said on Twitter in 2009, 2010, I go, bro, you could say that shit out loud in 2009, 2010. Like, it wasn't taboo to say stuff like that.
Right.
2022, we're a much more advanced society, so we can't speak like that anymore. But again, yeah, dog, don't touch people who don't want to be touched.
Yep.
But for you people who are living in that world of don't touch me if I don't want to be touched, let's contextualize touch.
What does that mean?
Right. Like, do I have to ask for permission to break the touch barrier now? Like, hey, can I touch your thigh? You see what you just did? You fucking laughed at me, man.
No, it makes sense though.
Right. So understand there are people who don't understand, who weren't brought up that way. And guess what, dog? I've been aggressive with some women in ways that was consensual, but you don't know that shit's consensual until you try it. And you just fill out the vibe and you hope it works out. Because I've also been passive and missed out on opportunities. Or I've been like, is it okay if I bro, just stop and just do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you don't know what it is until you do it. So I support not putting people in uncomfortable situations, but some of this shit has to be received as trial and error to an extent, right? I ain't talking about you going up and just trying to finger blast a chick, like, you know what I'm saying? Just straight up, like, walk up to her, hey girl, how you doing? My name is Adam. Let me just finger blast you. Like, no.
Right.
No.
That is not what we're talking about.
No, but it's like I asked you earlier, dog, when's the last time you got the no turnaround twerk? Where you just walk up on her, put the fat meat on her, and she just keep going. She don't even look back.
And like I said, I couldn't tell you the last time. And that's the thing. And I don't even know if the climate's done. I just think it's because I'm older and I'm just like we said, fuck all that. Yes. Even let me tell you, even when I meet people's friends and I'm single and stuff, like, I'm not like, you're gonna know if somebody likes you or not. And like, you can be not necessarily aggressive, but not even be passive about it. Like, you're gonna know if they feel the vibe out, right? And so that's like just like a good example of it. It's just one of those things where it's just like, well, with that is like, now it's this is when people start coming up with these, I was drunk, whether it be on the end of when your friends tell you, oh, this is what happened. Like if chicks talk to a dude, or vice versa, but more so chicks, because that's typically the way it's played out. When chicks talk to you, they're like, yeah, you ended up fucking that dude. And he's like, really? Like, like that shit.
Hold on, dog. We done fucked some girls, and sober us wouldn't fuck them, but drunk us would fuck them. But the difference between male society and women's society, we don't get to say that we were drunk and I made a mistake.
Or go back and say, I didn't consent to that anyways.
Which I wouldn't do anyways. I'll be like, damn, bro, I really fucked a 4.
Right.
Which, granted, I'm in a relationship right now, so I'm not doing that right now. That's for That was way in the past. Way in the past. Just got to let that be known. Way in the past, you fucking podcast snitches.
Or viewers.
Yeah, viewers. I love y'all, but you know what I mean? So here's a Book of Eli. He chimed in and said sexual assault requires intent. And that's how I process it. But I don't think today's society processes intent. They only process the action, and they want to say, you took advantage of me. You made me uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Like, there's a difference between Harvey Weinstein saying suck dick for a role and a
Not
guy
trying about that, but like,
right.
I think the way you worded it, yeah. But yeah, that's
There's
essentially.
a difference between that and a guy trying to fill out a vibe, and maybe he's rubbing the thigh, he rubs a little too high. She says, hey, stop. And you stop, right? You touched her in a way
it's not a I put my hand on your leg and then you say stop, and then I'm like, fuck you too then, bitch. Like, it ain't even that.
No, it ain't that. Like, and there's a difference between that, and I just hate how sexual assault blankets all of that stuff without getting into the intricacies of it. Like, no, bro, call it what it is. Call it rape. You know what I mean?
A lot of stuff is situational.
Exactly.
Right? And then it also depends on the person, because of course one person could feel this way about something, and then another will be like, well, I didn't mean to fuck you, but I did definitely make a mistake. Like, it's not that I wouldn't even fuck you. It's just I definitely wasn't trying to do it the first time I met you. Like, it could be like that. I've heard love stories come out of this type of stuff. It sadly does not work both ways. Catcalling for distance. Man does it to a woman and it's harassment. No one really cares the other way around. And that's very true.
Here we
go.
Also, the boundary for catcalling keeps expanding to the point where complimenting a woman on something might be seen as harassment. I don't even know why I called this woman talk during Women's History Month, because I did tell you we were going to probably take misogynistic approaches to this, but no, it's real shit, dog. Like, yo, I don't know that a compliment is a problem until you tell me it's a problem. Like, and again, bro, some
women don't take compliments very well. Let me tell you, you could be at a restaurant and a waitress bring you something, and you might say, thank you, ma'am, and they might even take offense to that. I've seen the shit happen because Justice has done it. My younger brother has done this. He has said, thank you, ma'am, and I've been there and seen it, and they're like, don't call me ma'am, and it's just like, well, and then when we walk off, we joke about it, but it's like, well, what do you want me to say? All right, bitch, appreciate it. Like, what do you want? Like, but they take ma'am as possibly you thinking that they're like this chick. If I'm 28 and the waitress is 21, they might think that you're like calling them old or look old. But see, now this is where the perspective comes in. And it's just anyone can take anything the other way. And I think that that's kind of the way that we started the show.
Yeah.
Talking about Molly and how there are so many different ways that people can look at things and not even realize that this world's not catered to you specifically. And even if you think that you're speaking for a group of people, because you probably are, because there are definitely likelies among us. Everybody's got someone that's similar to them. None of us are the same, but we have people among us. And that doesn't mean that she's wrong and that the other girl's right, or that they're both right. One could be right and wrong, depending on the situation. We don't know, though, because it's all situational.
Dog, we're losing the societal standards where we can make a line that society agrees on. And once you cross that societal line, it gets into personal preference, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay for me to just walk up to a chick and just whip it out. That's never okay.
Right. Well, it's never okay, right?
Even if she likes it. Outside of a relationship, bro, like that shit's like never okay, dude.
Let me tell you, you could technically be in a bedroom with a bunch of people having an orgy, and you might walk up to somebody that doesn't want you to fuck them, and they could say that's sexual harassment
or sexual assault. Like,
right.
Oh, bro, Book of Eli over here cooking. He said, "Thank you, miss. Did you assume my gender?"
Exactly. But
I saw tits.
This is where we're at.
Yeah. And it's a scary place. And all I ask, right, as we get ready to close this out, because we're not hitting shit else, be gracious with the people who are trying to be nice and teach us. Just teach us. We're not out to go against you. Just teach us, because we don't know what we don't know.
Be yourself and be open, because right, you don't know what you don't know. That's like one of my favorite quotes. Somebody told me that in I took a course like a long time ago on like using QuickBooks. This was like a long time ago. I was probably 18. And literally the instructor was like, you don't know what you don't know. And this is why people need to ask questions and always speak up. And I get it. People are shy, and that's okay. Like that is okay too. Like maybe you don't necessarily have to speak up, but at the same time, God damn it, you're your own person. You've got to take control of yourself too at one point. You can't just continue to sit around and expect people to always defend you. Whether they're wrong and you're right anyways, you still got to be your own being. You've got to be able to do it. Like you've got to be able to do it. You've got to take it. That's literally somebody not taking control of their life. You could be a 48-year-old nigga living at home with your mom. Like, you know what I mean? And saying, well, my mom said, this, that, and the third. And it's just like society is going to look at you like you're crazy because you're not taking control of your life.
Like, I don't know your boundaries until you tell me your boundaries. Now, once you tell me your boundaries, all right, cool. Give me the opportunity to respect your boundaries. And that's all we're asking for. And it's sad that this conversation can't really be had on a larger platform because all the powers that be would say, you can't say that. You can't say this. No, I can say that because this is what people need to hear. Because just like the book of Eli is saying stuff that we can definitely relate to. Like, we don't know this man from Tom, Dick, or Harry, but he understands what we're going through. We understand what he's gone through because shit really be like that. You know what I'm saying? And bro, you live in Atlanta and you know how aggressive some Atlanta women be. If you passive, you a bitch ass nigga.
Yeah, right. And then there's that. Then there's an issue with you, and don't let you have any type of self-doubts and self. Like, you got self-esteem issues or something like that. I'm not one of them. Like, I'm a confident ass motherfucker. Even if I don't say shit, I know I'm gonna be confident about what I know. But even then, they might not think. They're like, oh man, he's a bitch. He's not even aggressive with me. It's just like, don't you want to call me a bitch and fucking smack my and basically try to approach me? It's just like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm just gonna be myself. And
and like it be some shit sometimes. Rarely in my adult life, I won't speak to my younger life because I had to build up to this confidence level. Rarely do I just walk in a room and be like, yo, I can't fuck shorty.
Right.
And I know I'm wrong a lot. But that has nothing to do with my confidence and how I feel about what I can do, what I'm capable of, right?
Exactly.
But then, like, you'll be in a situation where they be like, hey, yo, go talk to her. No, that's not my style. Two,
maybe I don't want to. Like,
exactly. Two, I don't want her. Like, I had a joint tell me, I was out of the function a little while ago, and it's like, hey, bro, go holler at her. I was like, no, I'm good. What, you scared? And for the sake of the conversation, trying to end, I was like, yeah, dog, I'm scared, dog. And the chick go, you need to be scared. Like, whoa. You have a fucking Newport in your mouth while you're talking to me. I'm not afraid of this. I am afraid. You know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid of that shit in your mouth right now, baby. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm not calling her baby to her face. You know what I'm saying, Cindy? I don't call these other women baby. But the point I'm saying is, yo, like, I'm not scared. I got a fucking girl, dog. Like, I'm good. I'm fucking good, dog. Like, I'm just gonna play this little I'm scared game just to try to kill the conversation. But don't think you can talk to me crazy because I'm not interested in you. Because now your little weak ass ego is hurt because somebody tell you to holler at me, tell me to holler at you. I'm not. I'm just sitting there chilling. Like, I'm like Stone Cold. Give me a beer. Like, I'll just drink.
Right.
But shit, man, you got anything else you want to talk about? Because I got to drain the main thing, bro. It's been 2.5 hours.
I do too. I feel like we slacked the whole slate, man.
Oh yeah, man. We'll have a good show next week. We'll probably come back with some better facts on baseball. And I mean, shit, football's the gift that keeps on giving.
By next Thursday, free agency might have already happened in baseball, and football will be starting next week. So we're gonna be getting like a double header, literally.
Hey. All right, dog. It was good. It's a good show, man. I'll holler at you.
Absolutely. And then I'm gonna see you next week.
What's up?
And then I'm gonna see you next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you
Let's
next
get it
week.
done.
All right, Doc.
All right, brother.
Yep.
We are all here